Okay.
Gotta make sure all these videos are muted.
It's the mute roulette. Am I muted or not? I was
Right.
muted.
That's not. And I don't need that one going. I'll pause that one. All right.
Okay, things look good.
All right, cool. In 3, 2. Hello, everybody. This is Tim and Jesse. Marty couldn't be with us because his father passed away this evening. And so before we started, we wanted to send our condolences to the Estes family and wish them well and send our prayers and thoughts and love to them. So please make sure you send a message to him on Twitter and if you need to, but he'll probably be offline for a while. But again, we send our condolences to his family and to the Estes family. All right, with that, welcome to the Nintendo Dads, episode 395, recorded on October 6th, 2022. On tonight's episode with special guest Barry Carenza, co-founder of Premium Games, we talk about Super Mario Brothers Movie Direct, the latest Pokemon Scarlet Violet video, and some surprising news on video games. Jesse, you know what to do. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. This is the Nintendo Dads coming at you live as usual. We do every Thursday night. First, I'd like to welcome our guest, Barry, to the show. Barry, how are you doing?
I'm doing great. Thank you so much for having me back here.
Excellent. I'm glad you got to join us. How was your day going so far?
Busy. It was a launch day for us, so it was very, very busy. And obviously Nintendo had their wonderful Direct earlier, and it's just been an exciting day.
Excellent. And Jesse, how are you doing today?
Doing pretty good. You know, one of those crazy days at work. You know, yesterday we talked about this in the pre-show, was a holiday for our India people. So it was a really quiet day and no meetings, which means all the meetings were today.
Of course.
But
they make up for it.
I'm still taking tomorrow off, and I'm taking the Monday off, so I got a 4-day weekend. So I'm looking forward to getting some rest.
Yes. I wish I had a 4-day weekend, but it's not going to happen that way.
4-day weekend sounds nice.
Not yet, at least. But we got a lot to cover, believe it or not. It may be a slow news week in some instances, but not so much. So let's just get into the news. All right, the news is brought to you by our Patreons at patreon.com/NintendoDads. Huge thanks to all of them out there who give us a little bit of their money every month to help us keep this show going, to do what we do here. And thanks to everybody at Patreon and for giving us their subscriptions, because we're able to do what we are looking forward to in November, and that's get together live for the first time together in New York. So we're looking forward to doing that November 5th, and we'll talk about that later on as well. But it's because of Patreon and you guys that we're able to do that. So thank you very much. We'll get into other sponsors information later, but for now, as I said, we're getting into the news. And the first part of the news today is the Super Mario Brothers Movie Direct. Guys, did you guys get to watch that today?
You did?
Yes,
I did.
Barry, what were your thoughts on that movie Direct?
I thought the Direct was really cool. Just that they, had the small little presentation. Miyamoto's son was there and everything. The trailer, I thought the animation was way better than I expected. Definitely looks like they've been putting this time and effort into, giving us the best quality. And it's not even done. They're still polishing stuff.
Right.
The big thing was the voices. I still feel it's too little to make a true judgment. A sentence here or there it's taken out of context. I think I need to hear more to make a full judge, but I do think that'll work for me. I think Jack Black will work. I think Chris Pratt will work. Even the comedy, You know, like the penguins, it's like all the revenge for throwing them off the cliff, and here they are. Like I thought that was hilarious. Like
Right.
when it just was Bowser just standing there, like really, like I thought that was so perfect and spot on. So
Yes.
I think like I've heard people say like, oh, Mario looks a little young, but this appears to be like an origin. Like
Right.
they're telling his first journey into the Mushroom Kingdom. So I could accept that. Like this is 1985 Mario. This isn't 2022 Mario.
Well, even Miyamoto-san has said that Mario's in his 20s, even today. So, yeah, he actually looks like he could be in the 20s. And for being an origin story, that makes sense.
I'm waiting for the day, after they do a few Mario movies where we'll get just a Mario movie. Will just be Mario in the sense of we got a Logan movie. So we get a Mario,
old man Mario,
Old man Mario.
in the future. And
that will never happen.
And he's just, you can find him and having a beer somewhere and being angry.
You know what? You can almost see that already. And that's in a BMW commercial that they did that partnership with in Japan.
Oh,
and you see that really weird old Mario get out of the car. Like that's it. That's your old man Mario.
That's where it's going to start right there. They were teasing it way back then.
I think the thing it'll take me the longest to get used to is Mario's face is a little rounder than I'm used to. He seems to have like kind of extra chubby cheeks. Yeah. Little extra chubby cheeks. They went extra with one set of cheeks and took them away from another set of cheeks.
Yes, that's the rumor that's been going around. Not rumor, but the news that he doesn't have a butt. Really?
At least the topic of conversation. Yeah, well, one, it's the internet, but two, the dude ground pounds. You got to have some cushion there.
Yeah. Maybe that comes with time being in the Mushroom Kingdom.
Yeah, well, you remember he didn't ground pound until what, World? Or 3 had a ground pound. So he had a little time.
Yeah.
He had to learn it. He had to get that junk in the trunk.
It wasn't in 2 yet because he was picking up.
I
don't think it was in 3 either. You can do it as a tanuki or as a statue, but not as normal. So it was later when they maybe it was 64.
It was all the mushrooms. He had to eat a lot of mushrooms to gain that junk in the trunk.
Mecha Dragon saying Mario 64 was the first ground pound.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right.
He was just a.
All right. Well, I don't remember that kind of stuff, that kind of detail. So good on you guys for trying to remember that one. But yeah, for me, it was just, I'm excited about it all. This is like super stoked for it. Even with Chris Pratt's voice, for the moment we got to hear it, I'm like, okay, it is jarring when you're used to hearing Mario for a certain way for so long, obviously. But for me, it's more of, okay, like you, Barry, was saying, it's only a couple lines of dialogue we got to hear. And are we going to hear a Brooklyn Mario as opposed to an Italian Mario? So
I think that's really where the disconnect is, though. Like kids today who grew up Mario 64 or later, they only heard the Italian Mario.
Yeah.
But all of us, we grew up with the Super Mario Super Show and the Bob Hoskins movie and, the Super Mario 3 and Mario World cartoons where he did have a New York accent.
Right.
And it wasn't that Italian, Charles Martinet. So I think it doesn't bother me as much because I grew up with that Mario.
Yeah. Well, I think, I don't know if I would be able to handle an hour and a half of Martinet. Mario.
Right, exactly.
He does have a role in the movie somewhere. They haven't announced what he's doing yet. It'll be interesting to find out what they do with him.
He's gonna be Mario's dad.
Maybe.
Where was I going with this? Yeah, I was hoping that it wouldn't be Chris Pratt's normal voice. It's not. It seems to be pitched up a bit, and so far I'm digging it. I think I'm okay with this.
Yes.
So so it's like a normal voice but pitched up with the younger looking face, and the very detailed clothing, even the collar. Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. It's not making me, like, oh, this sucks or anything like that. It was just, yes, it was jarring at first because of what I'm used to hearing, and then it was just like, okay, I'm going to be able to tolerate his voice through them, through the whole thing. So
and then yesterday, the picture from a McDonald's poster was going around about this might be Mario's face in the movie, and yeah, it looked awkward as a still, but in motion, I think it works.
Especially when he's talking.
I think voice it's always one of those weird things. Even if you look at other gaming characters that have had that, like Mega Man, for example, if you grew up and you had the Mega Man cartoon, he was very masculine, Americanized. He had a very masculine voice. But if you listen to him in the games,
or
the
the first time it was voiced in Captain N, Mega.
Oh god, it's even worse. But it was always a masculine voice. But then if you like Mega Man 8 and the way the Japanese always did it, it's like this really young, childish young boy,
probably voiced by a woman.
Most likely voiced by a woman. And it's very jarring. It's like, wait, what happened to Mega Man? So I can see this. There's going to be a disconnect. And what's going to happen is it's going to come out and some people will say I wasn't enjoying it originally, but it grew on me. Some people will like it right away. Other people will say, oh, I couldn't listen to it. I've seen people say I had to mute the trailer. I'm like, come on, now you're being melodramatic. It's a 2-minute trailer and he talked for like 10 seconds. Come on.
Or he said 2 lines.
I saw a comment too. Where,
outside of grunts, he said 2 lines.
I saw a comment where Chris was like, or somebody was saying Chris Pratt spoke, and I was like, I'm not watching this anymore. It's like, just because he said 2 lines.
People like to just do things for reactions.
Yeah.
They think they're edgy or whatever. Like, look, I'm cool. I don't like okay, good.
Yeah.
I don't like it.
That's the part I don't like. It's like, just, if you don't like it, you don't like it. That's fine.
Yeah. The Bowser, the model and voice nailed it spot on. I have nothing to say. Kamek, same thing.
Yep.
I love that voice and model.
And they're powerful too. It shows just how powerful they are. I think they've made them kind of more jokes in later games, but in the beginning they're powerful. They're supposed to be powerful.
I can't remember who was doing Toad's voice.
Not.
Was there somebody doing Toad's voice?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I forget.
I don't remember.
Toad sounds like Toad.
Yeah,
or
Toad
Captain
sounded
Toad
fun.
or whatever that is,
That's just Toad, like the standard Toad.
Okay, because he had the backpack like Captain Toad.
Keegan Michael Key.
Yeah, that was it.
Oh, okay. All right. Nice. Did good job there.
Yeah.
All right. And then we got some comments from our chat too about it here. I'm trying to go over. So I thought Bowser was going to steal the baby penguin, Nintendo said.
Roger wanted to see Bowser pick up a penguin and just chuck it off a cliff.
Nintendo also said Old Man Mario dies of poisoned mushroom.
I could see that.
Well, that's what Toad was trying to protect Mario from.
Yes.
Yes, it was.
Episode says his face wasn't terrible, but it was off. And then he said something about Uncanny Valley.
I saw a tweet comparing the Mario model to Wreck-It Ralph. Fix-It Felix model. They look very similar, except for Felix is a little slimmer.
New Super Mario Brothers was the first 2D Mario platformer where you could ground pound.
Yeah, that's
what Mecha Dragon was saying.
That sounds about right. Yeah, because that would have been after 64.
Yeah, it had a lot of the 64 moves in it.
Let's see. Charles is in the corner going, I could do better. I could have done better. Is what Mecha's saying.
Aww.
I think Jack Black said there's going to be some musical stuff with Bowser.
I think it was Matt Pat who did a video kind of taking a good look at the cast. They all got a musical background and thinks this could be a musical movie.
A musical? That would be interesting. Could be. And Mecha Dragon also says we're underestimating Charles. He would be fine. He would have been fine. Now we're not underestimating him. We're giving Chris the benefit of the doubt, I guess. So let's see. Seeing what else I missed. All right. Lots of good stuff in here from the chat. So if you're out there listening, you can always join us in the chat. Keep up the conversation there. All right. Any final thoughts on the direct? Any ideas of when we might get a full trailer?
Game Awards is what I would say. That's
okay.
Reasonable.
Got a guess for Game Awards?
that's probably a good guess. We might get one kind of like a few weeks earlier, Thanksgiving holiday, or the day week before, when like the Pokemon comes out, when they have a big marketing push on whatever the next big thing is.
Okay.
But I think Game Awards is a good candidate. I asked my
That's
wife yesterday. I asked my wife if she's interested in it. She goes, "I want to see a trailer first. I don't want to make any decisions yet." I'm like, "I'll give you a link to a trailer tomorrow." She hasn't yet seen it, but I have delivered the trailer.
My wife saw it and was like, "I'm excited. Let's go now."
I sent the
Nice.
trailer to my wife, all three kids, and her brother, my brother-in-law. Have not heard any responses back, so I don't know what the thoughts are. But I am all in. I'm looking forward to April 7th.
Same here. Definitely all in here. All right. Speaking of other showcases or directs, we had a Pokemon presents about the latest video for Scarlet and Violet. Jesse, you want to do the honors?
Sure. I took notes on this. I literally watched it like an hour before we started recording. So kind of not organized in any way other than this is what the order they showed in the video. So the brightly lit Pokemon in the wild. I want to use the word shiny, but that has a completely different meaning. Will terrestrialize in battle against you. When enough damage is done to the wild Pokemon, it'll return to its normal state and can now be caught. The example shown was a Jigglypuff with a water Terra type. They said that every Pokemon has a terrestrialized form. It could be any one of the 18 Terra types. Their native type has nothing to do with what their Terra type can be.
Which is pretty cool, I think, because then you could get something that doesn't normally fly to fly.
Changes it up.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you'll probably see a lot of like types early on, with the with the differing types being more rare, and it'll probably be likely like raid target captures, and we'll get to that later.
Okay.
They and we've seen this before. Pokemon can be sent out to collect items and battle with wild Pokemon on their own. I don't know what I think about this one yet. TMs can be crafted using components dropped by wild Pokemon. So that's taking what they took from Arceus, where you had to craft your Pokeballs and other potions and other tools, but now you're crafting your TMs.
Yeah, that one I wrote a note saying, "Ugh, more crafting in a game." It's just like,
yeah,
I'm starting to get tired of the crafting of everything. There's always got to be some sort of crafting mechanic in a game.
Mecca asks, does that mean they're dropping permanent TMs? I don't know. we don't know yet. I'm sure.
I thought I saw them pick up one. I thought I saw video. They picked up.
I imagine they can still be item drops and purchased, but this is just another way to get TMs. We'll find out.
Yeah.
This one again, I kind of think is kind of gross. But Girafarig now has an evolution to Farigiraf.
Bless you.
Yeah, and the thing about, because the joke about Girafarig is it's a palindrome, and it has two heads on either side. The tail is a head. So Farigiraf is also a palindrome, but both heads are now in the front, and it has no tail. So it looks really weird.
It does. It looked cool though, kind of. It still looked kind of cool.
Yeah, but they got to keep the pun going.
Yes.
Yeah, I think even in Japanese it's a palindrome with kanji.
Okay.
But
that's cool.
So trainers will have to complete gym tests before they can battle the gym leader. Similar concept to what they did in Sun and Moon. Gym leaders can also use terrestrialized Pokemon. There'll be many player avatar options available, similar to Arceus, so I'm not surprised there. Selfie camera. Ew.
Yeah, I saw not just the selfie, but it seems like there's a lot of camera things going on in there. So like they incorporated Pokemon Snap into the game, it seems like, Not just with the selfies, but you could do pictures and take some nice pictures and post them or whatever.
And Ferrando asks if you need to use a crafting table to make TMs. We don't know. I kind of hope that they do what they did in Arceus, where if you do it at a stationary table, it'll automatically access whatever you have in storage.
Yeah.
But you can also have a portable table that you can whip out anywhere. But at that point, you're only limited to what you have in your backpack.
Yeah, they had in the video, it looked like a computer where you were accessing all of your components to make the TM.
Right. So, because, phones are portable computers, basically, they can still do a portable thing based off of what you have on you.
Yep.
That still could be done.
We'll learn more as we get closer to the release date.
Yes. Okay. Picnic areas. You can make and eat sandwiches to add effects and wash and play with your Pokemon. I don't know if this is something I'll dive much into. I'd never really liked these side tasks that are just something else to do other than the actual game.
Instead of Nintendogs, we got Pokemon.
Right. Well, they've done things like this in the past as well, and I've never really cared to do it.
And I think it's funny you can make sandwiches now. It's not. It's kind. I like it. I like it actually. It's not anything I'm not.
Didn't Sword and Shield do like a curry or something?
Yeah, it was like there was curry, and there's usually some other types of dishes that are being made, but sandwiches, I know how to make those.
Yeah,
I'll be into that.
And then the last, I have tarot raids. Up to 4 trainers can attack a terrestrialized Pokemon together to try to defeat it before time runs out.
Yes.
And the example they had was, I don't remember the Pokemon, but it had a Terra type of ghost, so it was a really awkward combination.
Going back to the sandwiches thing, Jesse, you should be totally into that, right? Because you're the
I was trying to avoid that topic.
Artisanal sandwiches or something like
yes,
that.
Yes, that is the lore.
Yes.
The lore.
Barry, are you excited about? Do you play Pokemon games? Are you excited about this? Okay.
Yeah, I'm really excited about this one specifically because Pokemon's one of those, I grew up, with it in high school. Red and Blue came out and the anime and all that stuff. But I fell out of it like most people, in the middle tier. Diamond Pearl was the last one I really tried to play. And I came back in X and Y, which I've seen a lot of people do that. But Arceus earlier this year blew me away. And I know some people say, oh, the graphics are ugly. They never bothered me. But to me, that was the game I wanted back on the N64 all those years ago. So the high school in me, the kid was like, oh my God, this is great.
Yeah.
So
I am on record saying Arceus is my favorite Pokemon game of all time.
It is my favorite because it gave me what I wanted. So this is doing that plus more, and the open-endedness. I love it. I mean, the other superfluous stuff, I'm with you, Jesse. I never did the beauty contests or play with the Pokemon or any of that other stuff. But it's there. And just because it's not for me doesn't mean I don't like it being in the game, because it adds something for other people. The camera, tons of games have camera modes.
Yeah, well, there was a big uproar when they took it out of Fire Emblem Awakening.
Yeah, I rarely use camera modes, but I know some people who go crazy with camera modes.
Right.
So let it be a feature.
Speaking of artisanal sandwiches, Adam is a big camera mode guy.
Yeah.
Yes. Yep. Adam from Megadad's, our pseudo competitor, I guess, if you will.
Our rival.
Our rival. Yeah. No, they're good friends of the show over there too. So we just like teasing each other back and forth. But yeah, I'm looking forward to it too. Arceus was my favorite. All the Pokemon games usually I get into, but fall away from it because it was the kids who usually get it. And I was getting the other game and playing it with them. And then when they got way far ahead and didn't need my help anymore, I was like, okay, I was kind of either done with it. I did finish Moon. I'm trying to remember. I think Moon was the last one I finished, and that was on the 3DS. I had Shield. I didn't get into that. I did a little bit whenever the kids need my
same
help.
here.
I
did finish Sun and Moon. I don't remember which one I bought, but
Yeah.
I didn't get far in XY. I didn't get far in Sword Shield.
But Arceus for sure. And
oh yeah, I put $100 into Arceus.
Yeah, that is on my list of Game of the Year games when we start talking about that. So Barry, I can't hear you.
I did X and Y,
There
and
you go.
I skipped Sun and Moon and Ultra Sun and Moon, but then I went back in Sword and Shield and beat those. So I did the opposite of you guys in that
Nice.
regards. And then of course Arceus, like you, I probably put like 80 hours in. It was the only game ever that I've completed the Pokedex. I just felt compelled. Let me go after everything.
Nice.
Like it was just fun.
I liked it because of this, and this is what you were talking about. Everybody plays their Pokemon games differently, right? So for me, it was about the story. I played to complete the story. I wasn't all about completing the Pokedex like you, and I don't know.
But you needed to do it to get the end of the story.
Well, to a certain point, I didn't go in and get. There's others that you can get, or like you could get to a certain level, or you can get a certain number of Pokemon and get to the end of the story.
But then when you get to the end, Arceus says complete the Pokedex to face me. So you have to complete the Pokedex outside of the two special ones, Shaman and Darkrai, which needed the save data from Sword Shield or Diamond Pearl. But then when you have the full Pokedex is when you go to Arceus and you fight him and you see the true ending of the game and you get to catch Arceus.
I guess I didn't do that then.
So yeah.
Okay, I met. Is this which game was this? We talking about
Legends Arceus.
Okay, no, yeah, I didn't have to transfer anything over.
No, you don't transfer anything over. But there's two bonus Pokemon if you have saved data from the previous games. You get special quests to get Shaman and Darkrai, but they don't count for Arceus. Like you just need to do all the remaining ones, and if you catch them all, I didn't
realize that was dependent on save data from another game.
Yeah, Shaman is from Sword and Shield, and Darkrai is from Diamond and Pearl, the remix.
Well, I just happen to have save states for those games, so I guess that's why I got them.
Okay, so I got to the point where I thought the story ended. And I know there was more to where you could face Arceus, but from what I understood, there wasn't any other story elements to that. So, but
that's pretty much the end of the story.
There's a little bit there, but Arceus's battle is insane. It is like the hardest battle I've done in a Pokemon game. It's got phases with save states.
I'd say Enamorus is probably more difficult still.
Oh, maybe.
I hated her.
All right. Well, I felt satisfied with what I did.
That's all that matters. That's all that matters.
So, and I had a lot of fun with it.
But I did get full decks. I think my son got full decks, and when he played it, of course he cheated. He had a lot of friends to transfer Pokemon over. I literally only had two people send me Pokemon to help out, but when I did the little nitpicky things to complete the decks, I would have done them on my own with it, so that really didn't help. No, I didn't get a full shiny dex.
That's great.
That just sounds silly.
That sounds like a lot of work there. All right, so I'm also looking forward to the Pokemon game. Which one are you guys are you going to want to pick up or play? Jesse, which one are you going to play, the Violet or Scarlet?
I think I don't remember which one. Scarlet, I think. The one with the prehistoric.
That's Scarlet.
As opposed, okay, I think I pre-ordered Scarlet.
Okay.
And I think my son's getting Violet.
I'm gonna be Scarlet because my wife's favorite color is purple, so she's gonna be playing the Violet.
Gotcha.
I gotta play the opposite.
Nice.
Yeah,
I'm leaning towards.
That's normally what my logic was, but of the two, basically my decision was based on which of the two professors I wanted to look at, and I went with the woman.
I'm going with the Violet one so far, because I like the way that legendary Pokemon looked. In the way I think that one looked more like a motorcycle than the other one did.
Yeah. Well, apparently, and they didn't say it, but they kind of showed it really briefly at the start of the video. Is they can use those legendary mounts in water.
Yeah, that looks
Nice.
awesome.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Now, I will tell everybody right now, I don't know all of the lore of Pokemon and stuff like that, and just, but I do like what I do know and what I learned from all the people who are heavily into it and talking to people like that. So that's, I like the story. I like what I played in Arceus, so I'm looking forward to what's coming out in Violet.
As
So
long as you have fun, that's all that matters.
yeah. All right, moving on to the next piece of news. Killer Queen Black to shut down on November 30th because Amazon closed down GameSparks, a service that allows devs to build games while letting AWS manage and scale the cloud infrastructure. GameSparks closed down on September 30th. So the developer Liquidbit shopped around to migrate their infrastructure somewhere else, but all options available required significant rework to their code. So unfortunately, they're going to have to shut down Killer Queen Black. So hopefully they're working on a Killer Queen Black 2 and we'll be able to play that one. But that's unfortunate. That was a pretty cool game that when it came out, we got together as a community and played that a lot. Barry, what are your thoughts on that?
I mean, this is one of those cases where I really cherish single player games, because when you have a multiplayer style game, it's fun until things like this happen.
Yeah.
And you have a physical version that's a glorified coaster, and you have, the servers are down and you can't enjoy that game, and all it is a memory. And that's a real shame, because the developers spent a lot of time, and I actually got to meet them at a show a couple of years ago when they were showing the game off. Really passionate people, just love what they were doing. The community behind it was really good, and all that work is gone. And all,
that's a
it's
bummer.
just like boom, you can't even enjoy it. And that's the real tragedy, is that all the hard work is gone and no one can just have fun. And if at least there's an offline component, that could be preserved. But if there's not, this look at Babylon's Fall. I mean, as another coaster.
And this news dropped shortly after the whole Stadia thing we talked about last week. So that's kind of like the risk that developers have when they use third-party middleware, is if that middleware is gone, so is your game.
Yeah, that's a bummer. And hopefully this doesn't start a domino effect, so we don't see a bunch of other things coming down like that, or we start seeing new things come up to take its place at least. But
that's the problem with anything with games for service. I mean, even like Just Dance, the one staple has gone to that. Like the physical versions are not physical; they're codes in box.
Right.
They're like, let's be as cheap as possible. So the games become vaporware at that point. The server shuts down, gone. We've seen it so many times before.
Mecca asked if there's local play, so I looked at the game's page. It says you can play on a single system up to 4 players. So that will probably still exist.
That will hopefully, yeah.
You can play local wireless up to 8 players, meaning you have 8 people in a circle, each with their own system and game, doing ad hoc networking. That will probably still exist, but most people play online.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
and that's the component that's going away.
That's a big component.
Yep. Well, hopefully they can figure out something, like I said, a Killer Queen Black 2 or something that will get them back up and running and with a different service.
Oh, and Ebocell reminded us about Wi-Fi Connect that powered DS and Wii games.
Mm-hmm.
That when GameSpy said, "Time to renew your contract. It'll cost $10 or N more dollars," and Nintendo said, "Screw that, cancel. It'll shut it down."
Oh yes. All that stuff, all the digital storefronts are going to go away eventually. All those servers are going to go away. Some people say, I don't care, I've moved on. But in terms of game preservation, it's terrible. Sucks that those things are gone.
In fact, I've been replaying Dragon Quest IX, which had a Wi-Fi Connect component. And so there are people who set up separate servers that can be accessed if you put in a certain DNS address, and it's working. I'm able to access the same type of shop that you could have access when it was, run by the real servers by Square Enix or Nintendo. I don't know who did, but so that part's still being preserved by other people. It's just not available by the original developers anymore.
That's a shame. But that's the future, right? Yeah. Everyone needs to be streamed, and everything needs to be cloud, and everything needs to be direct at your fingertips, and it's all fun and games and easy until it no longer exists.
Right. And it's understandable too, after there's been some time where it's, you got your fill of it, I guess, but this still seems pretty quick. What, Killer Queen's only been out, a
2
year or two? So
and movies and TV shows on Netflix, games on Game Pass. It's still a revolving door. Games come in, games go out. Yeah. Well, they're, at least in the terms of Xbox, they're still available to buy. They're not available on Game Pass anymore. But it does alter the availability.
Yeah.
Well, there's even some shows like HBO Max just did this, where now that Discovery's in charge, they like cut a bunch of shows from HBO Max's tax write-offs that they did with the background movie, the same thing. And those shows, some of them did get a DVD release and now are super expensive because it's the only way to watch that show. And other ones never did. And now you'll never get to see that show again. And it's like socks. Like, even if the show wasn't the greatest, to at least have access to it in some form,
right?
It's preserved. Yeah, all that stuff should be preserved.
Ibisol says, "You must rent the games. We won't allow ownership," which is a complete 180 of Nintendo's attitude in the 80s, where we don't, they made it in Japan, it was illegal to rent. You could not rent games. They tried to fight it in the US. They couldn't. They lost that battle. But that's why, North American games are tuned more difficult than their Japanese counterparts, because they didn't want people to finish a game in a weekend.
Yeah.
Sometimes they got easier, though. Final Fantasy IV, for example, because we're just Americans and we're stupid. They have to tone down the games for us.
Right.
Right.
Yep. Moving on in the news, we also got a Inscryption has been rated by PEGI for a Switch release. They rated a PEGI 16, but there's no additional information on this and no announcements yet as to Inscryption coming out for the Nintendo Switch. But that's pretty exciting. I saw that, and I'm glad Jesse got it down here in the notes. We both kind of figured that it would be, since it came out for the PlayStation, that we were going to possibly see it for the Switch. We both really liked that game. Jesse, you played it on the PlayStation. I didn't, but
and I didn't
PC,
like,
of course.
So the one reason why they had to make changes based on the PC version, I don't like how they did it, but they did what they did, and that I'm sure that'll port over to the Switch exactly the same way. I do not plan on triple buying this game. In case
that's where I'll probably
asking.
Double dipping will probably be on the Switch, but we'll see.
I've already did my double dip, so I'm good.
Barry, have you played Inscryption or heard of Inscryption?
I've never even heard of Inscryption.
Okay. It's Jesse, you want to do the
honors? Are you familiar with Doki Doki Literature Club?
I love Doki Doki Literature
Club. Where the game introduces itself as a gameplay, but it's really something else.
Mm-hmm.
That's what Inscryption is.
It
starts out as a card game, like Magic the Gathering. Then it turns out to be not that. And,
don't spoil it. Now you've got me
that's as far. That's as far as I go with my pitch. Because anything else is a spoiler.
Yep.
Was it digital only? Then I take it. Right? It didn't come out physically.
Correct.
Yes.
I don't think there's a disc.
And that's Inscryption with a Y, right?
Yeah. You have to send me the name.
Or not with a Y, but was it?
Yeah.
It's spelled differently. Yeah. Sorry.
Yeah.
It's spelled differently.
It's like script, SCRYPT.
Okay, yeah, send it to me after. But like Doki Doki is one of those I loved, even though it was free when it came out physical. I supported it on all platforms. I'm like, no, this game needs to be played. I love Doki Doki Literature.
Yeah, I actually double dipped. I bought it digitally just to play it on launch day, and then I still bought the physical because it's one of the few things I really do want to collect.
Yes.
Such a good game.
Yep. And the funny story behind that is Jesse, before I joined the Nintendo Dads on the show, probably doing stuff on the back end, Jesse had been trying to get the other Nintendo Dads to play this game on the PC.
Yeah, I tried to get Zach to play it, being the
Doki
psychiatrist.
The Doki Doki game. So
wanted to get his insight on it.
I did the same thing to my friends. I played it and I said, everyone needs to play this. I made my wife sit down and play it. I'm like, you need to play this game. Take 2 hours and be done with it.
All 3 of my kids played it. My son, the middle one, loved it. The 2 daughters did not like it.
And then
Sayori,
when it came out for the Switch, I was like interested in it, and Jesse was like, "You got to play it." So I have someone to talk to about it.
Yeah.
There's so many, like, all the new things they added in Plus. There's new rabbit holes to go down if you ever seen like all the hidden stuff.
If you have the chance to play Plus and to play it on somewhere other than a PlayStation, do it, because PlayStation has censors a few scenes. And it's kind of off-putting. It actually makes it more weird, but it isn't what was designed.
Oh.
Yeah, the Switch and the Xbox version and the PC versions are as designed.
Great games, and Inscryption is as well. So if you didn't hear Jesse's pitch, rewind, listen to that one more time. And if you're into it, you can go check that out or wait to see it come out for the Switch. So, all right, next up on the news is another Jesse game, Picross X, Picbits versus Uzboross to release outside of Japan in November. So that one I'm actually excited about because it is a versus game, right? So it's a versus.
That's what Picross it looks like.
Game.
They still haven't put out an English trailer.
Okay.
The only trailer they have is in Japanese, and I don't think it was closed captioned. So I'm only going by their visuals and the few things that they do write in English, but it's not a lot. But it does seem to be like a battle game. Like you have five puzzles, and you're going head to head against other people, trying to see who can do them faster or something like that. I'm hoping they have more complicated than just 5x5s.
It'll be definitely interesting to see. So, Barry, are you into any of the Picross games at all? Or do you
I love Picross.
There you go.
I think Picross is great.
There you go. Then did you pick up S8?
I did not. No.
Okay. Yeah, that one I don't play them all either.
I don't play them all.
Pick that one.
If it doesn't come out physically, I don't usually get it unless it was free, like the Pokemon Picross or Twilight Princess. So it's one of those things where and then some of them, was it Death by Numbers, I think it was, on Switch, which was like a visual novel Picross game. Like, that's so cool.
Murder by Numbers,
that was it. Like, I love things like that.
Nice. And sometimes I see some of the stuff that may not be physical here, but it's on Play Asia.
There was another dating sim crossover. Let me look up that name.
I was fun. I don't know if you played like Mario's Picross on the Super Famicom, which is only available on the NSO. Like, I was like, oh, this is so weird seeing like Mario talking about these like standard general items and stuff. Even though it's in Japanese, it's still Picross. I'll figure it out.
Pixel Puzzle Makeout League.
Oh, that's certainly a game.
It is a game.
I have there was a Pixel Puzzle Switch release physically in Japan that had English. It was like a 3-in-1, but I don't know if that one was included, or if it was, that it might have been a 4-in-1 or something, and like that one might have been included, but it was Japanese.
Well, this one isn't a Jupiter game, so it's trying to find the developer. Well, the publisher is SkyMap Games. Doesn't say who the developer is.
That is interesting.
Well, speaking of Picross games, still Picross S2's updates broke many features of the game. So Jupiter talked about doing a bunch of updates that they introduced in the most recent games and into their earlier S games.
Yeah, to add 4-player support and touchscreen support.
Yeah. So Jupiter suggests not launching it until another update can be built and deployed. Other Picross games apparently are fine after their updates. Just S2s apparently got broke. So Interesting.
That happens.
Yep. Doggone code. Other news and game releases is Pilot Wing 64 will be added to the NSO Plus expansion pack and will be coming there on October 13th. Y'all excited for that one? I'm actually excited because I never got to play it. So I'm looking forward to checking out Pilot Wing 64.
I love Pilot Wing 64.
I don't remember if I ever played 64. I remember playing the Super Nintendo version, and for a while I got good at it. And then I played it again later, and I am not so good at it anymore. So I probably will give this one a try, and I am not expecting to be good.
This one starts off where it's like, oh, this is easy, and then the difficulty ramps up. Because it was a launch title. There was
when it gets to the jetpack, I'm like, okay, this is where I bounce.
Jetpack wasn't bad. A lot of it's the hang glider. There's like puzzle like levels where you have to like get into wind gusts and go up and make sure you go up high enough to like hit certain altitudes. But because this was a launch title for the 64, when we beat Mario 64 in the day, that was the only really other thing we had to play. So we just kept going on those levels over and over until we accomplished the goals. It was one of those things where as a kid or a high school kid, having a sleepover with your friends, you're taking turns, you have the patience for those things. When you're 40, it's like, I had enough. I'll move on. I got no time for this.
That's a good point right there. Good point. Yep. So I'm looking forward to that, definitely. And also looking forward to getting closer to learning more about GoldenEye coming to the NSO. So once we get Pilot Wings done, and I'll be just waiting on that. So
let's hope they fix the frame rate.
I'm still seeing people put out videos confused about why Nintendo's GoldenEye will have online support and Xbox's version won't. I'm like, yeah, I already explained this.
I'll explain it again, Jesse. Tell them why.
Because
lay down the knowledge.
They're not patching in. I don't think they're patching in online into the game. It's because the emulator already supports online. You go online first, then launch your game. They're just going to play the game like normal. And if you happen to be online up to 4 people, then you're online with up to 4 people playing the normal game. Whereas in the Xbox, again, they don't want to change the code to support it, so it's the game, which
it could have also been a deal with them where Xbox gets the HD version and Nintendo gets the online. Because remember, GoldenEye was published by Nintendo. So the publishing rights are held by Nintendo for that game, even though Rare developed it. So that could have been one of the compromises they came to allow it to happen.
It could have been. And that was one I threw out there too.
If they're making HD patches to it, I think that makes it a different game and doesn't qualify.
No, it's still
publishing rights. I don't know, but I think it's because it's not. They didn't add networking to the game. It's in the emulator.
That could be a reason too.
All possibilities we'll learn in a book 10 years from now. So
yeah, maybe when the secrets are revealed.
Yes. Or in a documentary somewhere. So,
of course, if this ends up being a separate downloadable instead of through an expansion pack, then I'm way off. Then I'm way wrong. But I think this will be part of expansion.
I think it's part of the NSO. Yeah.
Well, that's our news, everybody. Let's move on to a quick ad break from Justin.
Hey folks, support of today's episode of NINDADS is brought to you by Manscaped. Welcome to Fresh Ball Fall. It's the season of pumpkin spice and making sure your crotch looks nice. That means sipping cider in a fall breeze and using Manscaped products to trim your balls with ease. That's right, today's show is brought to you by Manscaped, a company here to make sure that your foliage isn't the only thing shedding its excess leaves. Heck, even Mother Nature knows it's time to lose the excess clutter for fall. Join over the 6 million men worldwide who trust Manscaped by going to manscaped.com and getting 20% off and free shipping with the code NINDADS, NINDADS. That's 20% off and free shipping when you use the code NINDADS, NINDADS. Folks, we've talked about how awesome Manscaped is. We continue to encourage you to use the products there. There is some tremendous products that you have an opportunity to get. Don't forget that their use of their ultra premium deodorant. And by the way, don't worry, it's not pumpkin spice flavored. And it's a lovely cologne quality fragrance as well. And of course, we've talked before about the Crop Preserver Ball deodorant. And it's just that idea just to make sure that, hey, your armpits sweat, other places sweat, make sure you're smelling nice as well. So absolutely, I encourage you to do that. I encourage you to head over to manscaped.com. Take a look at the premium package this fall. Again, a great gift as maybe you're preparing for the holidays and Christmas, or giving it away to a friend or whomever. These are absolutely fantastic products. Use the code NINDADS, NINDADS, for 20% off and free shipping. All the Nintendo dads use Manscaped products. We highly recommend them, and we think that you would absolutely use them as well and make them part of your day-to-day routine. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.
Thanks for that, Justin. Now let's move on to our discussion. All right, today's discussion is going to be focused on our guest here, Barry. Again, Barry, thanks for coming to our show today.
Of course.
You are a founding member of the Premium Edition Games, and we've got some questions for you that I hope you can answer for us.
Yeah.
You and your team just recently dropped the Premium Edition Games Fall 2022 Premium Direct.
That's correct.
You dropped it on October 1st with tons of physical releases announced. And I'm going to run through a list real quick of what we saw there, and we'll talk about some of those in a minute. But and please let me know if I missed anything. So Raji, an Ancient Epic Enhanced Edition. Again, these are all going to be physical releases, everybody. So you guys are doing that. And when you guys hinted at it before, I was so excited about that. And that was your first video or first thing you guys shown. I was like, yes, I was excited about that. They Bleed Pixels, which looks really cool. And again, you guys can, anybody who was interested, go check out Premium Edition on YouTube. You can go rewatch their direct there and you'll see all the video content there. And when these will become physical at some point, or go to their website, see all that stuff there too. Premium Edition Classic Series Volume 1. I understand you guys announced that before, but is a little bit of delay on that. And you guys have talked about that a little bit in the video. Port of Sunshine Anthology is being worked on, and you guys will be handling that physical edition for that. A Robot Named Fight Steelbook Edition. So it's not, you guys had brought that out previously in your series. But now you're doing a re-release, but in a steelbook edition, and that one I'm excited about too, especially since I found out it was a Metroidvania type game.
Yes, it is.
So, Love 3, which looks insane, by the way. So, pixelated little person, you got to jump around all these, like almost like Super Meat Boy type things. It looks like in some way, some fashion. So, but it's called Love 3, and then Eagle Island Twist, which includes not only the original Eagle Island game, if I understood it correctly, but it also has the Twist version of the game, which if I remember correctly in the video, it was basically a way for people to play it that may have been intimidated by the original Eagle Islands game, because the Eagle Island was a little tougher, and then Twist is supposed to make it not so tough.
This has nothing to do with Chubby Checker.
No.
No. But not only announcing all those games,
I bet 3 people understood my reference. So.
Not only announcing all those games, you guys also announced new team members, your active, how active you guys are in the games for kids, the books you guys are going to be dropping, CDs, and also releasing PlayStation 4 and PlayStation 5 games. Lots of stuff you guys announced in there. Did I miss anything, Barry?
No, I think you did a pretty good cover of all of it. I mean, we could touch on some of the stuff, of course,
yes.
But you did a good general overview for sure.
Sure. And again, if you want in details for anybody who's watching now, please, by all means, if you want, pause this while you're listening to the podcast or watching us on YouTube. Pause this, come back, go watch their thing, come back as we discuss it. But Barry, how tough was it for you, especially, to hold back and not, release any of this information out to the public up to this point? How tough was it for you?
It's always tough. I think I'm trained at this point, doing this for several years now. There's a lot when you sign these contracts that you just can't can't reveal things yet. I mean, you could technically just blow but it's not fun. Like, we want the surprise element. So like,
Right.
I can tell you, we have a ton of stuff for 2023 and even into 2024 that I can't talk about right now. So it's like, I know, like, that's about as much as I could say on that topic. So I was just at Retro World Expo, which is in Hartford, Connecticut, in the end of August, and I was talking to some of our fans who were asking, you know, like, when's the next Direct? And I was telling them, I said, look, the Series 4 Direct that we did right before I came on this show the first time was a 5-page script, and I said, all I could tell you is that this is right now a 12-page script. I said, that's about all I could tell you. Just be prepared. This is going to be a lot bigger. There's a lot to do, but it is tough. I mean, it's just the excitement.
Yes.
But we know delivery of the news is also important. It's just like anything else, you know, you could just say it, and like I'm not a big leaker. I hate leaks. I hate spoils.
Don't get us started on that.
You know, I think it's one of those things where if I saw a list and said, like, I always look away from, but it's like, oh, new Nintendo Direct, here's what's coming, and it lists like new Zelda, new Metroid, new Earthbound, new, you know, Star Tropics, like all my wish list stuff that I would love. I think that would kill anything when I would see like a big reveal, like, oh yeah, we knew about this. Like,
Yeah.
It's nowhere near as fun as going, oh my god, they're making another one of these. And so because I'm not a big fan of that, I don't want others to get gypped of that. So we want to do fun ways to reveal the games. Like you said, we started with Raji, and we always do that. If we tease a game, we're going to start with it because everyone's expecting it. They want to see it. Let's not let them wait. Let's just rip off the Band-Aid. You want to see Raji? Boom, here's Raji. But then now stay for everything else. But yeah, it's tough.
I bet it is.
Yeah.
Well, I bet also
Friendo demonstrated that he's one of the 3 people that got my joke.
All right.
So being that you guys get a lot done for amazingly for how small you guys are. So it's probably a little bit easier to keep a tight knit on things because of how small you guys are. But you guys are growing too. Like I said, you guys have new team members you're adding. So as you scale, I'm sure there's, you know, everybody understands NDAs, but because of scaling, there's always going to be more hands touching things. Are you afraid of leakers getting a hold of your information and leaking anything?
I mean, I would certainly hope not. I mean, we do have NDAs.
Yes.
We have to be careful. Even when we have games, like, so, you know, we had the deal with Screenwave that we're so honored to. We had to be careful. Like, if Justin Silverman, for example, tweeted something, if we started liking it beforehand, it would be like, oh, because everyone does that. Oh, so and so retweeted this, or so and so liked this. What does it mean? People are so speculatory on that. So
Yeah.
it's almost like walking on eggshells.
If Kojima likes a post.
Yep, exactly. Exactly. If Sakurai likes a post, or if Platinum Games tweets out a Nintendo Direct or whatever. So am I worried? No.
Retro Studios says anything.
Anything. I'll take anything from Retro at this point. But no, we're a very tight-knit group, Lisa. We're very small. And because of that, everyone understands. Like, we're all doing this. We're a family. And like, if you're part of the team and you're like, hey, test this game, see what you think. And you're under an NDA, it would be really weird if suddenly we're like, oh yeah, by the way, we're testing this game, whatever. And we like, why? Like, what? Like, why would you do that? And we would notice it right away because we have a really good community of followers who would immediately say something. And we've had people guess games before. They're like, oh, we want this game, or oh, you're gonna do this game, and we're like, oh, we just gotta stay quiet. Like, we just gotta stay quiet, like, not acknowledge them in any way, shape, or form.
No response.
No response. Don't want to.
Understood that. So you received really good reception on this last premium edition. Were you surprised at all, or is it just basically that your typical community, you know, loving you type response, or did you get more response than you expected?
think we got more of a positive response than we were even expecting. We always hope for a positive response. Sometimes it doesn't always work. When we did our last Direct, there was a negativity about the price. We had to increase the price of our games because with COVID, the price of materials went up, and we actually increased our materials. Our materials are actually higher quality. So we're like, well, we're a small company. We're not Amazon or anything. Like this is the way we have to do it. And there was a negative reception about that. And we saw that and we heard, and we're like, all right, we need to do something. So we figured out ways. It took us months to figure out ways that we could still get the high quality materials and we can get them at a cheaper price. And we were able to bring the price back down because we heard, we understand that, as long as a complaint is warranted and reasonable and not mean,
Right.
we're absolutely going to do what we can. And we did that. We weren't sure, because all the games we release, we play and we love. So all of these games we absolutely love, but we weren't sure what people were going to say about Love 3. And you love the graphics, but we know some people are like, oh, those are older graphics. Maybe it's not for me. This isn't state of the art, but it's not supposed to be. But instead, Fred Wood, who developed the game, has a big following. He worked on like Undertale and stuff. He a lot of love, ironically, for Love, and it was wonderful. It was like, oh, this is great. Like we were worried that people were actually going to be against us on it because we support the game. And that was like, oh, this is awesome. This is great. And we've seen people say, I want all the games. And some people say, well, this one's my favorite. That's fine. You want to play what you want to play. Not every game is going to be for everybody. And we've seen that, like, oh, people are like, oh, Ran Your Parade, that's not a Metroidvania. Oh, why would you release that? Because it's an awesome, fun game. Not every game is going to be for you, and that's fine. But we just like to release cool games. And if it's a cool game,
that's one of our mottos, I guess you could say, is we say that every time there's a Nintendo Direct, and I normally like 2 games if I'm lucky.
Oh
yes,
but I'm glad that other people like the games I don't.
Exactly.
Yeah, we try to remind people that Nintendo's not trying to appease you 100% with their Direct.
Exactly.
It's basically if you like them all, great, then you're one of the few who's going to like them all. So,
exactly.
But same with you guys. Obviously, you guys are trying to reach different fan bases.
People, we allow suggestions. We say, please suggest. We want you to suggest games you want to see physical, and we'll always try and do our best to reach out. Sometimes there's already deals in place, so it's dead in the water. Sometimes we'll play the game and maybe we won't even like it, and we'll say, you know what, this isn't a game for us. Or the game will be great and we just can't come to an agreement. Like whatever happens, we need to make sure everything works. And if everything works out, that means it's a game we stand behind and we absolutely love it. We support it. We're going to go through all the motions to make it physical. And all we ask is, if it doesn't look like a genre you like, that's fine. Don't play it. But if it even intrigues you, give it a shot, because that's why we do the challenge cards. Because all of our games come with challenge cards from the developers. If you do the challenge and submit it, Proof will give you a physical patch in the mail as our way of saying congratulations, physical achievement. We're the only ones that do this.
That's awesome. I didn't know that.
Yeah,
that's freaking awesome.
Every game has its own patch.
It's like a throwback to old Activision games.
It's exactly what it is.
That's what I was gonna say, because my grandma actually got the River Raid one, and
River Raiders
was really cool. Yeah.
So that's exactly it. So we brought that back. All of our releases get them. Every game has their own patch. And I can't tell you how many people have submitted patches saying, I got the game. I got it because I'm a collector. I decided I'd try it for the patch. You've now introduced me to my new favorite game. I can't stop playing this. And to me, that's awesome, because we know we're all busy. We can't play all the games we buy. We always buy more than we can play, but we don't want our games to sit there sealed, not getting enjoyed, because we love these games, and that's why we support them. And we love the developers and the publishers that we work with. We cherish those relationships. And
you mean not like this game?
I love that game.
That's still sealed.
Oh, I love that game. That game needs to be played. That's a crime right there.
He's got to find the 100 hours in his time to play it.
Yes, well worth it.
My 100 hours are allocated to Persona 5 later this month.
Oh, that's a great game too. That's a great game too. But you have another question?
Oh yeah,
nice,
tons of them. So,
good.
But the other, you were speaking of, obviously, we know you can't tell us names.
No.
We don't need names, but what's it like to get trying to negotiate for a game you really like that you want to get but can't get it, versus and even the ones where you really like the game and get it. What are those like? What's the
I mean,
to deal with?
You're talking about like the emotions of think about a kid on Christmas opening up the present. Now it's a Schrodinger's present, right? Because as long as it's not opened, it's both exactly what you really want and your worst nightmare at the same time.
Yes.
So if you open up the present and it's what you want, that's what it's like signing a game that we absolutely love, and we're so happy that we get to work with them. And if the deal doesn't go through, or they go with another publisher, or they decide we're moved on from this game and we don't even want to bother publishing it, that's opening it up and getting socks as a kid. So
Okay.
and there's only so much you can do at that point.
Yeah.
We respect everybody, and we've had all types of things not work out, which is unfortunate, and all types of things that have worked out. And it's about licking your wounds, getting back up. Way we look at it is everybody that gets to preserve physical media is doing service for all the gamers. So if it's like, oh, we went with another publisher, it's like, congratulations, that's awesome that game is now getting physical, and I will purchase it and support it, and the whole team will. We're stand behind that, and we're just happy for them. If it's the worst is when they say, oh, you know what, we've moved on from the game, so we don't even want to talk about it, we're moving on, and the game just sits there. That sucks, because then it's not getting anything.
Has there ever been a time where they thought they didn't want to do anything about it, but then came back and changed their mind? Or okay.
Yeah, we've had different stories. Every developer is different. Every publisher is different. My favorite story that I love to talk about is for our game Phenotopia Awakening, which was part of our third series. Fun fact, that is actually our #1 selling game.
Okay.
Phenomenal game. But when it was suggested by a supporter, said this game, we checked it out. We said, let's contact them. So we contact them, and we got a meeting, and they said, the first thing out of the mouth, you don't want our game. You don't want my game. What? We're having this meeting. What do you mean we don't want this game? You don't want this game. And so why not? It's like, well, I met with a publisher, and they wanted the game, and they asked what the digital sales were, and the digital sales are terrible, so they backed away. And I met with a second publisher, and they asked what the digital sales were, and they're terrible. They backed away. So I'm just saving you the trouble. Digital sales suck. You don't want the game. And we looked at them and we're like, but we want the game. So then we had to proceed to sell his game to him and convince him to work with us. Like, no, please. It's the whole thing switched, and he eventually agreed, and we signed the contract. But he said, I want to do everything. So we said, you can do everything. Because we tell all our developers and our publishers, you can be as involved in the physical production as you want, or as uninvolved as you want. But we allow developers to see all art as it's produced, and they get the final say if they want things changed. We want there to make it their dream game to be a reality. So he had his artists working on it, and he did all the packaging. Like, that was all what he wanted. We made it happen. And he actually got his, we sent him his copies in the mail, and he got them, and he opened them up, and he sent us this long email just thanking us. Like, this was way better than he expected. It blew his expectations out. He was so happy, so thrilled. He's like, I absolutely did not expect this. And the game is our #1 seller, and we will pretty much be ordering more copies, because we're not a limited company. We will order more copies if there's a demand, and it warms my heart so much to see so many people discover this game that have never heard of this before, and now are going on an adventure of a lifetime because of it.
Nice. That's exciting stuff to hear. That's a great story too, by the way. Thanks for sharing that. Next question is this robot named fight your first steelbook?
No.
Okay.
This is our second. Our first one was for the Pigeon Dev Games collection, which was part of Series 1. That's available in our Retro and our Deluxe, which I believe are both available still on the website. Robot Named Fight. The reason we did the steelbook is kind of a funny story. We had to buy steelbooks in minimums. Like, you have to buy a certain amount. So I believe 3,000 was what we had to buy, and we did 500 in our deluxes. We did 1,000 retros that came with it, and then 500 went to Retro Fighters. They did their own retro. We worked with Retro Fighters in that one, so we had 1,000 left over. and they were just sitting there. We had to pay for them. So we're sitting there on 1,000. What do we do with this? So we decided to order another 1,000 copies, because you have to order in 1,000 prints for reorders. And we decided to do a really cool O sleeve around the steelbook that actually has a cutout around fight. So it gives us 3D effects. So you see the steelbook through it.
Nice.
And then of course inside is the full color manual and the challenge card as always. And it's the same game. So it's, the game hasn't been updated. It's the same game card. But we were sitting on these steelbooks. What could we do? And we figured this would be a really cool variant. Give people an option, something new. If you already had the game and you don't want to buy it again, that's fine. But we sold out of Robot Named Fight. Like, we have no more. And people keep asking, especially at shows, what about Robot? I want Robot. I want Robot. So we said, let's do this. Let's do this as something special. And we were probably going to reorder more, and it'll be the standard edition. So this is very limited. I think there was only 600 put up on the website. And we have a few more for conventions of the 1,000, and keeping a few back for damages, of course.
Yeah.
But we really want people to enjoy this game. Matt Bittner did a phenomenal job making this game. This is Super Metroid, Infinite Super Metroid, because it's a roguelike Super Metroid, with tons of different cool things and cool power-ups. And you could have a run where you just get the worst power-ups, or you can get an OP run where you're shooting.
Don't tell Marty.
The size of the whole screen. It's insane. You get infinite jumps, and you can get laser beams out of your eyes and do sonic spin dashes, and it's awesome.
That sounds pretty cool. Awesome. Is there anything else about this direct that stands out to you that you'd like to share with our community?
Yeah. So I was talking about Love 3 before, which is available now for pre-order. That just opened today. The other game that opened today is Eagle Island Twist, which you were kind of right on. So I do want to correct you. So sure. Eagle Island was the original game. It's like a Metroidvania, but it is a procedural generated, and it is difficult. It is more on the difficult side, but it's a ton of fun. And then Pixelnix went back and made a brand new version of the game, in a sense, called Eagle Island Twist, where you're a new protagonist, and it's more like a Mario 3 style map. And each world is different. There's like a Smash Brothers level, there's a racing level, there's all these different style levels, platforming levels like Mario. So it's a very different game entirely. It's a whole different game. So you're really getting two games in one. You pick which one you want when you boot up the game.
Nice.
Which is awesome, because you're getting so much value on that cart, and that's available for pre-order right now as well. And both of those come from our partnership at Screenwave Media, which just Retroware is their new gaming division. We're so honored to work with them and to be able to bring these two games, and we absolutely want to bring more. So who knows what else is going to be in the future, but we're just really honored that this worked out. Like, we're really good friends, and we've been working and talking for a long time to make this happen.
That's exciting.
The other two titles of Series 5 will be coming. We're expecting in November, so not too long. We wanted to spread it out a bit. We figured 4 titles all at once, boom, that would be too much. So we wanted to spread it. You have Raji. Raji is, if you've never seen Raji, you need to watch it. And this is the enhanced edition. They went back, they did a bunch of improvements. So that's the version that's going to get physical. It's preserved. What an amazing adventure, isometric God of War style and Indian culture, bosses, beautiful music. Oh, like that actually had to get, that part of the script actually had to get rewritten multiple times, because they kept changing on us, because originally we had a mini art book that was going to be in there. We're like, oh, it's going to be the mini art book in the retro edition. That's going to be great. And then they came back and they were like, so the art book is around 120 pages right now. And we're like, that's way too big. Like, that can't fit in a Super Nintendo. So now it's the shadow puppet, because that's how the story is told in all these shadow puppets. So you can make a Raji, it's a Raji shadow puppet. And we're like, we're going to do this. We're still going to do the art book, but it's going to be separate, because we're not going to cut it down at that point. But it's just too big. They just kept putting in art, which is great. And then the other one, They Bleed Pixels, perfect for the Halloween season. This is a 2D challenging platformer, especially if you like challenging platformers, but it's got a combat system. It's a 1-button combat system. So it's like Smash Brothers. When you push the attack, if you push up or down or left, right, or by itself, you do different attacks. And you can do chains, and you build a meter up. And then when your meter gets full, you can then create a checkpoint wherever you want. So if you die, you just go right back there, and you will die. The levels
looks like you will. Yes.
Oh, you will. And it's so satisfying to like juggle an enemy and you just like kick them up into a spinning saw blade and you just watch the blood particles go everywhere. It's satisfying.
Pixelated blood. Yeah.
Oh, it's everywhere.
Pixels.
It's got a great story, animated story. It's just so well done, and we're honored to be able to bring this one. Also, so that one's also going to be in November is the target for that one. So that's our Series 5. The classic series that you mentioned, that's 10, over 10 actually, aftermarket NES titles. So these are games that came out for the Nintendo just from passionate developers. So they're all going to be on the Switch, all in one card. When you boot it up, you like get into an old school like living room with the CRT, and each game is an NES cart, and you can pick it around and rotate it in 3D, and all the information's there.
Nice.
The soundtrack is on a cassette. You pull up this cassette, you can play the soundtrack. There's some bonus games as well, and all these games come from very talented developers. So we're really honored to bring that. That is needed a little more time, because it's the whole infrastructure pulling it all together is being done by one very talented man. So we're giving him the time he needs to make it perfect.
That sounds cool.
And then you mentioned Sunshine. Sunshine is a little sore spot for us. That was a Kickstarter back in 2020 for Sunshine Manor. That game is done. It's on the Steam. But that and the original one, Camp Sunshine, need to be ported to the Switch, and it's in the porting process. Our version is going to have both games on the card, but we're not opening up pre-orders till the porting is done, and the porting still is not done after 2 years. So we're stuck waiting, and I say it's a sore spot because so many people ask, when's Sunshine coming? And we can't even give an answer because the porting's not done and we don't handle that. So it's up to the porting team. It's out of our hands. But I definitely can tell you, I look forward to stop giving Sunshine updates everyone and just be like, here it is, it's part of this series. In fact, it's actually numbered 13 in our catalog for 13 for Halloween.
Yes.
So that means Love 3 and They Bleed and Eagle Island are actually 11 and 12, but They Bleed Pixels and Raji are actually 14 and 15. So we actually had to skip 13 because we figured it would be done by now.
Right.
So we had it reserved for all this time, but we have to skip it at this point. So it is coming eventually. But we have a lot more coming in PlayStation. That was a part that was cut out of the script. I actually had PlayStation games revealed. We could have been talking about them, but Jeff's like, no, it's already too big. Like we'll do that separately. But we did want to make an announcement. So we are taking PlayStation suggestions. We do have some games lined up. Very much looking forward to doing something really cool, because we're doing something completely different with PlayStation. And we want to put our own spin on it, because our standards have slip covers and sleeves and full color manuals and inlay art and the challenge card. So we don't do anything by the books. We want to go above and beyond if we can. So we're just happy to still do this. Our 12th game, our 11th and 12th are up for pre-order right now, which we think is crazy considering, who thought we were going to get 3 or 4 games out, let alone this many. And the reception has been positive for all the games, especially when they get them. And we look forward to getting our Series 4 titles when they finish production in hand, and we'll have a second chance sale for those. And I really hope everyone gives them a chance. Bitwave was actually just bought by Embracer not too long ago. And their flagship game, Wonderling DX, was part of our
We're
Series
still
4.
waiting for their offer to buy us.
Yeah. Well, watch out. They're going to be coming for you next, Barry.
You know what? If the offer is good on the table, we'll see what happens. They have to come to us. But we just love doing what we're doing. I mean, we're a small company. We're just a small group of people who love video games, and the fact that we get to give a new attention to these amazing developers and publishers is just a joy for us. And we love just love working with them. So we wanted to incorporate that into everything we do.
Very cool. And thanks for giving us some of the behind the scenes look into what was going on there. That was pretty cool. So a little bit more. Here's a question for you, Barry. It's more about you and not necessarily premium edition games. What you been playing? What you been up to? What games you been playing? I'm
behind. I haven't had a lot of time this past couple of weeks.
Gee, I wonder why.
Launching video games and getting this the direct took me 2 months, just like to get all the recordings done and get be on top of everybody, work with the editor, make sure all the images are done and the trailers, and contact developers to have their voices in. It's a lot of work, but I love it. It's not really work. It's just it's fun. But in addition to everything else that's going on behind the scenes, I also do customer service for premium. So I talking with customers and doing shows. Did the Retro World in August, and I'm doing Retro Game Con in Syracuse this weekend. I'm leaving tomorrow. So it's crazy. So what I've had time to do is I didn't finish what I was. My goal was to finish it before, like by tonight, and I did not. And that is the Legend of Heroes Trails from Zero. I'm a big Legend of Heroes fan. So happy that these finally came to the States. And I'm at the end of chapter 3 out of 5. So I'm like, so close. That was my goal. That's the one game I can actually talk about, because I also, that gets interrupted because I have to test games. I know first world problems, terrible, right? So I've been playing a lot of games that I can't actually talk about, but
Gotcha.
But that's my game of choice right now, and I'm hoping to finish it because this month is already loaded with Star Ocean, Mario and Rabbids, Bayonetta 3. So I was like, oh my god, and Pokemon next month. It's like, and God of War I think is next month. So I'm like, oh my god, I gotta finish this as fast as I can, because while still enjoying it, and of course taking care of everything else going on.
Right. Yep. I can understand that. So we all have our backlogs of stuff, especially when life gets busy and our day-to-day jobs get busy. But especially, I mean, that's something to think about too. For a lot of us in the past have always wished, when we were younger, probably to be in the gaming business. A lot of people are. You're in the gaming business. We're in it in a way, as a hobby. But when you get into it, a lot of people don't realize how much work is involved there too. But like you said, if it's not really work if you're enjoying it, right?
When I started doing reviews, I'm still with Nintendo Fuse. I've been with them for a decade now, and I started with reviews, and I was like, this is great. I get to play games, until you get a bad one. And then you realize it's no longer fun when you have to go through a game that's just terrible, and you have to figure out a way to write it up professionally, telling everybody stay away. But you have to put in the hours. You can't be like, I played this for 5 minutes, it sucks. You got to prove that you've played it. So that's when I realized there's a dark side to this.
Imbecile says testing is fun until you have to test ET for the Atari 2600.
Well, there's a difference. All right, so that's game testing, and you're right. That's like, oh, game testing sounds great until you have to do everything 100 times.
100 times, find the break
and stuff. We don't. When I say game testing, I don't mean that. I mean developers
reviews.
give us games. We need to try them out and play them enough to say, yes, we want to have a meeting for doing this, or no, this it's just not jiving with me, unfortunately. And that's part of the hardest parts of my job, is to tell the developer no, we love this game, but it's just not for us, because not every game's for everybody, and some games it's just like, this is honestly going to be a tough sell. Like, even if you love a game, there's a game that we talked with. I can't say anything about it, but it was a game like we loved. Like Jeff was just like, oh my god, this game is amazing. But the problem is it's a very short game, and it's like $4 on the eShop, and it's like, it's going to be really, as good as it is, it's a really tough sell for a physical, because with Switch especially, you have to have 5,000 units, and that's a lot of money. I don't know if you know this, but the Switch cards alone, just the cards from Nintendo, because you have to buy them from Nintendo, the smallest size, the 2 gig, they're $8 each from Nintendo, and you have to order 5,000. So it's one of those things where it sucks to tell, and a lot of them understand, like, yeah, I get it, like, it would be tough, but it's still a very hard thing to do, and the worst part of my job whenever I've had to do it. And I haven't had to do it a lot, thankfully, but when I do have to do it, it's always grueling. Like, please don't hate me, I'm just the messenger, but
now I have to ask this, and tell me, by all means, tell us if you can't answer it, but what sizes of carts can you buy from Nintendo?
Sure. So 2 gig is $8. 4 gig is which is the next size up, is $9. 8 gig, the next size up is $10, etc. So
It just powers a 2 up to 64 or something.
yeah,
like
up to I think 32 or 64 is the top. It might be 32. But that's why you see games like 2K did like the BioShock collection, and it's mostly a download, even though there's a physical, because they did the 2 gig card. It's as cheap as they could get away with. That's why you saw things like Doom, where they put the multiplayer as a download, which was smart, and the single player on the card. It's to save money, because even if it's $1 more, if you have to buy, 1 million copies, let's say for like Doom, that's $1 million extra that eats into your profits.
Right.
So that, a lot of that. And what's funny is it's the big companies doing this. When we release games, we have a mantra. We absolutely do our best to have the full game complete on card with DLC, unless something happens. That's our goal. So that every one of our games is complete and preserved. And sometimes that means bigger cards. Like Mighty Fight Federation is actually an 8 gig card. That's a big game, and that includes all the DLC characters. So that was a $10 card in itself. So even if you just think about it, that now, we do pay the developers, and that's just the card. That's not counting the plastic, the inlays, the slip covers, the manual printing, the card, challenge cards, all that stuff. It adds on to it.
Yes.
So people are like, oh, it's lucrative. Oh, it's so cheap. Like, no, it's really not. Like the margin is not that
Right.
big. That's why a lot of these games companies are going digital, because the margin isn't that great.
That's why we don't have manuals, even if it is physical.
You're right, and that's why we still do it. We're not in this business to get rich quick. We're not like, oh yeah, we're going to be billionaires. We're doing this because it's a passion project, because we love these games. These games deserve a physical. We want to be able to do that and preserve these games because they're worth it. And that's why we do what we do. We're passionate about it, and we're gonna, we want them to be preserved, and we will wait. Like Robot Named Fight, we signed that early, and we waited for the multiplayer and the death match and all that stuff to be incorporated, so that it's all on the cart for you. Rain on Your Parade has the paid DLC. We said no, we want to make sure that it's all there and you have it. Wonderling, we signed when it was just Wonderling. We waited for all the DX updates that they were doing, and once that was done, even though we had the contract signed, that's when we pushed it out. So we try to wait if we can to make sure that it's going to be the complete game. And thus far, we've been, knock on wood, lucky enough to be able to do that.
That's very respectful, respectable. And because I know a lot of people who like to have that, because we've talked about this before. It's been a topic on our show where, physical versus digital, or even when you get the physical, there's still everything you got to download day one
patch.
Yeah. So not like where it used to be when we were all kids buying games, it was all in the cart,
Yep.
Unless on the rare occasion you had to send in that cart and get it, swap it for another one because something really huge was wrong with it, in the code. But like
Ocarina of Time, I think there are 3 or 4 different builds out there.
Most games there are, and you just never knew about it.
Yeah.
You don't know about it until you dump the ROM and there's a 1.3. What the hell?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And even Nintendo does this. I don't know if you know this, on the Switch now. There are ROM upgrades just like that. And one example I could immediately call to is Mario Tennis. So if you bought Mario Tennis on the Switch at launch, you got that game, you could play it, it's all there. But they added characters for free and added modes for free for like a year or so. If you go to the GameStop right now, say, or Best Buy, and you buy the newest release of that game, which costs the same, you check the card, you most likely are going to get the upgraded card that has all those characters and stuff on the card ready to go with no download. So nice. Nintendo themselves have actually upgraded their own physicals without saying anything, without noting, like, oh, you're getting everything on this version. And you need to know this. Yeah, there's a lot of games that have that, where they'll do re-releases with updates. And you could see, like, on the back of it, like Nintendo, if you look in the bottom right corner of a Nintendo case, and I know, Jesse, you got Xenoblade there, so you could see it. You'll see 5 zeros above the barcode. You'll see like 5 zeros. And that's usually telling you.
That's what it says.
That's the first revision. And then if you see all of them with a 1 at the end, that probably, and I say probably, it's not a guarantee, has an upgraded cart. And then if you see a 2 or a 3, most likely means more upgraded carts. And there's multiple versions of these games, just like there were in the NES. But again, they're not saying anything. But that's the first thing to look for, is that code. And it only applies to Nintendo first party. Third party do not have that code.
I just checked my DDLC and it does not have the code.
Yeah, it's only Nintendo first party. So any game that has had free DLC, if it got a second print or a third print, Nintendo will print it with the most updated ROM without saying anything, because it's free DLC. What do they care? But it'll save space on your Switch.
And
But-
even if you get a hold of an old cart, it'll patch, and it's the same game anyway.
Yeah. So they won't say anything. Yeah, I see Mecha Dragon asking Aces. Yes, Aces. That's the one I'm talking about.
Yes.
Did they do this with Splatoon 3? They probably will. If they Splatoon 2, I mean, they did, but they didn't add the Acto expansion. But in Japan, they had a release with the Acto expansion, but it's only in Japanese. Now, Breath of the Wild, they released in Japan with all the DLC, and that plays in English and reads your English save file. And that's all on cart. So you could actually get that DLC for Breath of the Wild preserved that way.
That's
Never
cool.
released in America. It's this weird facet with Switch collecting. So we try and do our part to make sure you don't have to worry about that. All of our prints are complete.
Epicel says, but does it have those ding-dang colored triangles?
No, that's European.
Yeah, which I didn't even know that the triangles existed until I saw, I think it was Nintendo Life video talking about them.
Yeah, I noticed it too, because there's a couple of games I got that are the European versions, and I saw those little triangles on the spine. It's like,
it's an interesting system.
He says, "Play Asia, here I come."
Yes. So thanks a lot for all that insight. Of course, that's a lot, all that stuff I didn't know about, and hopefully our audience will appreciate it too. So, and hopefully with all your travels, you'll be able to play some more of those games you've been not been able to play.
Well, I can't even say this is my last show. We're always doing shows, but there might be another show that I'm doing in November. So I have to see, and then of course the holidays. It's all craziness.
Yes.
And then it all starts over again. The new year starts.
Of course. So that's it for all the questions we have, Barry, and thanks for coming on the show again, as usual. This is the opportunity we give because usually our show goes long. And we understand you have to travel. So if you need to bail, you're more than welcome to bail, or you're welcome to stay the rest of the show, where we'll just go over events, what Jesse and I have been playing, and a couple questions from the community and some more Pokemon information. So we still got some more show to go, but we understand if you have to go.
I'll hang around for a little bit, and if it gets a little too late, and I'll bail out.
All right, you got it, sir. You can just pop up, just say, "All right, I'll see you guys later," and whenever you need to. Well, with that, let's move on to events. All right, we have upcoming events as usual. Just reminders to the community that we have dinner table every third Friday of the month. Again, if you're new here, that is our show that we do every month, once a month, every third Friday. It's not a show that we record, but it's where we get together with the community to talk about various topics throughout the month. So probably be talking about the Mario movie trailer. We'll be talking about, actually, I brought up some topics that we could be talking about. The movie trailer that we saw for the Super Mario Brothers movie. We'll be going over some Discord things. Some people are having trouble with or not knowing some of the ins and outs of Discord. So I offered to go over that with anybody who comes join the call. I also offered people who want to give us feedback, because we haven't had a good feedback session. So I figured now that would be a good time. If you want to give us feedback, come join the dinner table and we can discuss some of the things that we do in the Nintendo Dads community that maybe we can improve upon, or things that you'd like to see. But again, that happens every third Friday of the month in our Discord. This month it's October 21st, and it'll be at 10 p.m. Eastern time. And you have to be a Patreon to join that call, or you can also be a Twitch subscriber. Also, don't forget, we have our Extra Life game day, November 5th. Not only is that Extra Life, which we do every year, and we're trying to raise $5,000 as a team, but the Nintendo Dads are going to get together live and join the Phoenix Overdrive group along with several other podcasters and do it live together in person. And we're very excited about that. If you'd like to join our team, you don't have to be there in New York with us, but you can join our team and help us raise $5,000 together in total. But again, whatever you raise is for your local children's hospital. So keep that in mind. But we'd love to have you on our team. You can come join us by going to nintendodads.org, and you can click on our Extra Life banner there. Or you can go to the Extra Life page and look for Nintendo Dads, all one word, and you'll find our page there, and you can join us there. Also, John Zablanc in our community, who also does Dads After Dark, gave us a bit.ly link that you can use. So you can go to bit.ly/extralifedads, and you can join our team easily from there. So with that, that's our events. Let's move on to Jesse's PokéMinutes.
Pika, pika, Pikachu!
I hate you all.
The Evolving Stars event started on October 5th and will run through October 11th at 8 p.m. local time. This event continues the Season of Life story that began last month. Trainers will be able to evolve Cosmog into Cosmoem. The Festival of Lights event will run from October 14th at 10 a.m. through the 17th at 8 p.m. local time. Morlul and Shiantic will make their Pokemon Go debuts. During this event, trainers will earn twice the candy and twice the XP for catching Pokemon. Mecha goes, "Aw, no Robo Jesse? Yeah, not this week." Additional events in October. Mega Gyarados Raid Day will be held on October 8th from 2 p.m. to 5 p.m. local time. During these hours, trainers will receive up to 5 additional raid passes by spinning photo discs at gyms, and there will be an increased chance of encountering a shiny Gyarados. Yveltal and Mega Lopunny are appearing in raids through October 8th. Xerneas and Mega Manectric will appear in raids from October 8th through the 20th. And later this month, actually this already started, we'll have 4 collection challenges for trainers focusing on evolving Pokemon to receive evolution items upon their completion. October's Community Day will be held on the 15th from 2 p.m. to 5 p.m. local time and will feature Litwick. Evolve Lampent before 10 p.m. to get a Chandelure that knows the charge attack Poltergeist. October's Research Breakthrough encounter is Shed Ninja. Finally, the next Community Day Classic event will feature Dratini and will be held on November 5th from 2 p.m. to 5 p.m. local time. Trainers who evolve a Dragonair until 7 o'clock will get a Dragonite with a charged attack, Draco Meteor. And of course, that's right in the middle of our 25-hour stream, so I don't know how much of that I'll be able to participate in, but I'll definitely give it a try.
Yep, that who knows what's going to be happening during that 25 hours of Extra Life stuff. So, because
I imagine a lot of napping in shifts.
We're going to figure it out. So, all right, thanks a lot. Let's move on to what we've been playing. Barry, thanks again for sharing what you've been playing earlier on. Jesse, what you've been playing?
Continuing through Dragon Quest IX, Sentinel of the Starry Skies, if I'm not really using it as a crutch, but using it if I'm really stuck and don't know where to go next, I have a walkthrough guide. I think I'm using IGN's to know where to go. And even though I'm only like 30 hours in, or close to 30, I'm near the end of the walkthrough. So I'm trying to remember, is that much? Because I remember playing, it took me 75 hours to beat it the first time. I'm wondering if that much time was spent on extra stuff or not. I'll find out how difficult it is before I have to really grind. But so far, I haven't been grinding much. I've been able to keep current with the difficulty level. In fact, I did a little wandering to get into areas that I'm not supposed to be yet, at least off the story. The story tells me go here, but I'm going over there instead and seeing like what other towns I bump into. And I bumped into a town that basically is saying, "You're a foreigner, get out. We don't want you here." So I'm like, okay, happy people. So I think I've explored as much as I can explore before running out of ocean in my boat. So I think I'm going to have to get back on the main story path soon. Okay. So I tried Four Tails. I went through like 2 battles and I have no idea what I'm doing.
Okay.
I'm completely clueless. I couldn't tell you, I couldn't explain anything to you if I tried.
Okay.
So I'm
Did
glad.
you,
I'm
did you
glad
happen to watch? Did you watch my video on Four
I
Tails?
did not watch your video.
Because I do explain some of the things from what I was playing my first playthrough, my first first look at it. So I did some explaining in there. Maybe that'll help. I don't know.
I don't know, but it says, it tells me this card can do this to this card, and this is the effects. But I'm like, but why? I don't understand why. So it kind of seems like you're trying to like I remember like the first encounter is like you're trying to get enough money or something. There's
Yes.
one stat you need to get high enough, and you have to do things with the other cards to manipulate it.
Yes.
But the logic wasn't there for me. I didn't.
Okay.
So I
Yeah,
saw
so-
that the action cards and the actions had an effect, but I just couldn't. I couldn't predict the effect, so I don't
Yeah.
understand the logic.
Okay. So
So
it, yeah, I think it'd be better visually to explain it. So, I mean, even the first look, I was still learning a lot of stuff, but I did talk about what I've learned so far up to that point. But if you want, you and I can talk about it another time and I can go over it
yeah,
more
I don't know if
recently.
this is one I'll try again because I know there's like 5 games coming out in the next 2 weeks that I want.
Fair enough.
So
Fair enough. I'm glad you tried though. Wow.
all right, so I did try it based on your recommendation. Didn't go well for me.
Didn't click with you. Gotcha.
No, I tried Beacon Pines based on Marty's discussion of it a few weeks ago, and I love this game.
There you go.
I beat it in, I think it was less than 10 hours. It was a short game, but I played through the whole story, and it even Marty says when I asked him how far he got, he didn't get past what he did in his Let's Play. But
Okay.
yeah, it once that story ramps up, I just burned through it. I'm like, I want to know where this goes.
Nice.
Then trying to remember which game was it this? No, okay, never mind. I don't think it was a game I talked about last week. But yeah, I couldn't put the game down, and even what was I doing last week? It was, oh yeah, watching the Chiefs play on Sunday.
Right.
I did put it down to watch the game, but when halftime started, I set a 20-minute timer and I went back into the game for 20 minutes to get, because I was like really near the end of that. So, if you haven't tried that one, give that one a try.
Beacon Pines. Okay.
Yeah, if what was that game from a few years ago with B, and you were a college student that dropped out and came back home. Do you remember what I'm talking about?
I don't remember the name, but I know what you're talking about. It was with the animals, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And this game's also with animals. It's kind of got that same type
something
of feel.
Woods, something in the woods or something like that.
Yeah. So it's kind of got that same feel. It's not
Okay.
much of a game, like it's a challenge, but it's like a story that you are active in.
Night in the Woods.
Yeah,
Night in the Woods.
That was it.
Yeah. So it's kind of, if you like Night in the Woods, I think you'll like Beacon Pines.
Okay.
And it's a shorter game. I don't remember Night in the Woods being only 10 hours. I think it was longer. But in fact, that was the one thing I don't like. One thing I don't like about the Switch is when you want to go in and see how long you've been playing. If you started it less than 10 days ago, it'll only tell you started it 5 days ago.
Yeah, what the heck is with that?
So,
so annoying.
it won't tell me how long I put into it until day 11. But Blanco was able to go into I forget the mode of it, and look from profiles to see what games his friends are playing, and that game showed up, and sadly it's only me and Marty, but that did tell him how long I was playing for it, and it said more than 5 hours, so that means less than 10, so far as I'm concerned.
There you go.
Okay. Then the last game I played is Super Mario Brothers 5.
How was it?
I was wanting to know I expected your expressions to be, I know what he's talking about, or
I do know what he's talking about.
what the
I know
hell
what
is
you're
he talking about?
too.
Right.
Yeah.
So this is a world built in Super Mario Maker 2 by some guy, I forget his name, something Mike, who like literally spent 7 years on this. You know, some of his levels were made on the Wii U version, some of his worlds were made on the 3DS version, and he had to pretty much port the map to the Switch version block by block and then fine tune it again for the new environment. And so he says it took him 7 years to build this, and I like it. It's a fun game. Obviously, if you already own Mario Maker, it's free to play if you have the code. I'll try to see if I can find. I have the code in my notes somewhere. I'll try to put it in the description so you can find it there. So it's 8 worlds, 40 levels. I could not beat it. I'm either at the last stage or the stage before, and I spent 20 minutes, half hour on it, and I'm like, okay, I'm done. It's one of those levels where you have blocks like it's Super Mario Worlds where you hit the block and it doesn't break but rotate.
Oh, okay.
So it's like a line of those on a rail, so it's moving left to right, and then some up and down going on, with Magic Koopas everywhere.
Oh no.
So they're shooting at you. They're shooting, if they hit a brick, it turns into something else. So if you go high, you have a whole bunch of Magic Koopas attacking you. If you go low, those Magic Koopas are hitting the blocks that are turning them into beetles and Koopas, and they're just
So your
falling
platform
on
is
you.
shrinking.
And your
well.
platform is shrinking. And it's so okay, you put it in the chat, and
Yeah, I
Mecca
put it
asks,
in
are there
there.
any Kaizo levels? I would say this last level is a Kaizo level, and so I couldn't beat that one. But I did.
So close.
Yeah, there was one stage, I think on World 3 or 4, that I also couldn't beat. Its boss is just stupid. So, but other than those 2 stages, I beat every level I attempted.
Nice.
But so it is fun. I don't know if I'm on the last stage or if there was one stage left. But yeah, that's if you have Mario Maker 2, give it a try. There's a lot of creative ideas, things I've never seen before. Some of the stages are quite long. Like they took me upwards to 10 minutes to beat one stage. So there's a lot of content in here.
Yes. Yes, it was created by Twitter name, by the way, is Metroid Mike 64. And the code for our listeners, get ready to write this down, is O as in Oscar, G as in George.
I think it is a 0.
9, X as in X-ray, N as in Nancy, 4, F as in Frank, N as in Nancy, F as in Frank. So again, Jesse was saying the first one could be a 0 or no.
Because I know they're in their code entry keyboard. Like you can't have a 0 and an O. One of them is grayed out. So
Okay,
if
whatever
O is
that.
grayed out, it's a 0. If 0 is grayed out, it's an O. So
Yeah.
there should be no problem in figuring out what it really is.
Right.
I wish everybody did that. That's so confusing otherwise.
Right. So, but yep. So is that it, Jesse?
That's it.
Okay. I'll mention this too.
I'll
Go
do
ahead.
a quick preview. There's a video coming up Monday morning, because that's when it's embargoed. And I'll talk about it on next week's show. That's all I'll say for now.
What date is that? The
The
10th.
10th.
Okay. Gotcha. All right, cool. I got a couple games like that too, I think. So, but anyways, since you mentioned Super Mario Maker 2, I've also played it, but not as much as you did. I played the first world and enjoyed it. I'll probably go back to it when, between playing other games, I'll probably go back to it and play some more. But definitely a lot of fun playing that Super Mario Bros. 5. I think I like a lot of the clever things they did in the first world that Mike did there. So it's pretty cool to see. I played a sports game on PlayStation that I can't talk about because I had to sign an NDA for that. So I can't do any more details about that, but it was fun. More gear shifters. So if you heard me talk about this last week, gear shifters, again, my roguelite spy hunter like car combat shmup game that I've been really enjoying. So Barry, I don't know if you like any like spy hunter games or anything like that.
Love Spy Hunter.
This is a game that's been out for I forget, I think for a while. I forget what year it came out. Gear shifters.
I feel like that got a physical, didn't it?
I don't know. I bought it digitally, so I don't know. But that game is surprisingly more fun than I thought it would be. I mean, it looked fun and it had all the things that I liked about it in the video that made me buy it in the first place.
Yeah, it did get a physical, gear shifters.
Okay. Yeah, and I had a lot of fun with that. So I played some more
Nice.
of that. Go check it out if you're into that kind of games, those kind of games. Played a little bit of Picross S8 after I picked that one up. I don't usually buy Picross games. That's my wife buys them all and Jesse buys them all. But I bought S8 so I could get more familiar with it because I did want to do co-op with Jesse when we do meet up in November for the first time. So that I have to practice. Another game I'm playing, I can't talk about yet, but you'll see a video on that on the 11th. And then I've been playing more Four Tales as well. And again, I've been enjoying it. It is a card-based narrative story, card battling narrative story. And there is a lot of stuff going on there that they throw at you all at once. So I can understand where Jesse's coming from. But something just clicked with me with this card game. And I'm liking it, enjoying the story. It has some elements of a card battle system. It has some elements of obviously the narrative storytelling, where it uses the cards to tell the story. It also has a not necessarily multiverse, maybe a little bit, but you get the story of this artifact that allows the thief in the story to see a future that he needs to prevent. So, and then you use cards also to dictate which route you're going to go in order to prevent this future. So, but one of the things I like about the mechanics.
I'm getting Xenoblade Chronicles or Ghost Trick.
Yeah, right.
Vibes.
So the mechanics are you get cards that are laid out on the table. Use the cards to go through a pathway in the story to get where you need to go in the story. But you also will unlock when you hit certain cards, you'll unlock battles where you have to battle against enemy cards, and that basically changes from location cards to enemy cards, and you'll battle those. And you do your cards that you have, and their cards will have, their weapon damage and your armor or your health essentially. And based on that, you battle your enemies. Now, the point of the other thing that you can do is there's skill cards that you have to use to help either battle or kill the enemies or negotiate ways to not have to kill your enemies. And those choices will dictate some effect in the story. What that effect is, I don't know yet, because there's other cards that count how many times you've killed somebody. So, and
but
then
now we're in Live Alive.
Yes.
And then
Live.
there are other cards that count how many food items you have, how much money you have and how much clout you have. And you can use all of these things to negotiate your way through the pathways or with the enemies. So some enemies you have the choice of battling with, or rather than engage in battle, you can negotiate with food in some cases, like offer a hungry enemy a piece of food and they run off with the food. And if you have clout, you can use clout points or cards to, they recognize you, they know you're a bad dude, so they might lose the battle, so they run off. Or there are death cards, because you keep killing people, that you have a certain amount of death cards. You can use those to make them afraid of you and they run off. Again, there's some aspects of it that seem positive, but then later on in the story, I haven't learned what that is yet. That could be negative. So I really, there's a lot going on there, but for some reason, this game has clicked with me. And I think Four Tales is a good game I wish they had a demo for, because I think a lot of people would get a chance to hopefully play it and get a taste of whether they want to buy it or not. I wish this would have had a demo for Jesse to try, but it is something that
of course, this is probably the type of game that a demo may detriment sales.
That's true. That's true.
Yeah. If most people think like I do, which that doesn't happen often.
I really thought Jesse would enjoy it because you like the card type games too. So, but I think it's one of those things too. You have to be in the mindset to learn too, and be open to all of these things all these mechanics that are going on. So that's what I've been playing, and I hope I didn't bore anybody to death with what I've been playing. So, but that's what we've all been playing. Let's move on to our community spotlight. As always, this is where we shine the light on our community, our awesome community. And I'd like to take a moment just to thank everybody who stopped by this evening while we've been recording this episode, who's been watching it live, like Mecha Dragon and Ebicel and Miz and Friendo was here. And I didn't see if anybody else was able to pop in yet. And again, to Barry, thank you again for coming by and joining us here.
Thank you.
Some of the questions we have 2 questions and we got a voicemail, so we'll be getting that in a moment. But before we get to that, I just want to do a quick run over of our other family of podcast shows. Barry, you may want to pop in, and I think on one of these at least, or a couple of these.
Anytime, any of them.
I'll have to have them reach out to you.
Please do.
But we have we have our Xbox podcast, Game Pass News, that's run by Nick and Sean. They go over the week's their week's shenanigans, Xbox news, and Game Pass releases. It's a great show to listen to if you are overwhelmed with all the Game Pass games that are out there. They usually go through and give you some good games to try out. Their episodes drop every Saturday.
I've been wanting to try Tinykin, but I have so many other games to play. I haven't had a chance to yet.
Yes. We have the Dads After Dark show, which is run by our friends John and Drew, where they get together and talk about video games, dad stuff that we can't talk about on our family-friendly show. They do. So, and even though Justin tries, and Jesse has to, of course, edit that out every once in a while or make the noise.
Yeah, I have this.
There you go. Yep. So, but Justin's not here, so Jesse doesn't have to worry about editing tonight's show. So, but their show drops every other Monday night, or occasionally they'll do a special episode as well. Then there's our Retro Logic shows. Barry, this might, be one you want to check out. So Retro Logic, if you haven't been there already, Dan, John, and Sam, they cover all the retro gaming and retro gaming collecting topics. On Topic Retro is their in-depth overview and discussions about games. That's run by John. And he'll have guests on the show as well talking about specific retro games. Then we have Retro Groove, which is run by Adam and Liam, where they will discuss music from all generations and types. And their most recent new show called Film Logic, where Mike and Solo Something do a podcast on their on films. So lots of great content out there from our family of podcasts. Go please check them out when you get a chance. You can go to nintendodads.org to see a lot of those Spotify links to those podcasts, or use your own podcast feed to look for any of these shows and add them to your feed. You can also find them all on Twitter, Twitch, and YouTube as well. Don't forget about that stuff. So out of all that stuff that they do, not only that, they also, some of them do contests. So keep an eye on their Twitter pages. They'll announce a lot of their contests, or even in our own Discord. Like Dads After Dark, they run our monthly Mayhem. So stay tuned to watch that. We currently have a monthly Mayhem running right now. Right? Yes. Splatoon 3. I had to think about it. Yeah, Splatoon 3, and that's going to be ending soon. And so stay tuned for the next announcement for the next monthly Mayhem.
I knew it was a game I didn't buy. That's why I haven't been paying attention to it.
They also have their bounty board that you have to listen to their show in order to know what bounties they have going on. And then, of course, you can keep an eye on their Twitter page for any updates in that regard. Game Pass News also has achievement hunters that you can keep an eye on their Twitter page for, as well as their own little contest that they do for every now and then. They'll do a 3-month subscription to Game Pass contest there. All right, now we got a couple questions in our Discord. Well, one I can skip because Justin and Marty aren't here. We've already answered it. That was from Drew. We'll carry that one over until next time they're on. Mecha asked, with Overwatch 2 coming out, it got me wondering if anyone here has ever continued to play a game despite the controversy behind it, or from a company that made it. Since not a lot of people are Blizzard fans these days, how do you find the time to play? Well, that's another question. I'll get to that in a minute. So, but Blizzard has had its issues in the news at one point or another, and they're on the way of getting picked up with Activision by Microsoft. But with all that going on with Blizzard, and it's kind of died down, I think, recently. What do you guys think about all that in regards to his question? It got, again, about controversies in games, or even if you go to Hogwarts, controversy behind J.K. Rowling's. Whether you agree with it or not, how does that affect your decisions on buying the game in a world that's tied to somebody you may not agree with? As that an example, a lot of people don't agree with. What do you guys think?
We talked a little bit about this before. I know, like in the Hogwarts example, I think she doesn't really have much influence over new stories, so it's in the Hogwarts world. So I don't think that impacts much. Though I haven't watched any of the new stuff anyway. So really, and similarly, I don't think there's a Blizzard game that I've liked for years, so I don't normally play them either. I think the last game I bought was Diablo 3. And I bought on PC. I bought it when it launched, and because I normally play those games single player and not with other people, I couldn't get past Act 2. So yeah,
nice.
So I'm not saying I don't buy Blizzard games because of Blizzard being bad. It's just I'm just not a fan of their games. Now, if I was a fan of their games, then I would have to make that decision. But really, I haven't had to.
Barry, how about you?
I mean, this is always a tough topic. This is one of those things where people get angry over whatever you say. They're either for you or against you, regardless of your decision, because the people who are outraged want everybody to be outraged and everybody to side with them. And the people who don't care say, you know what, why should you care? No one should care.
People on the internet can't actually agree.
Can't agree. They can't agree.
They have to be argumentative.
Like I think all these controversies are terrible, and I think Bobby Cox, get rid of him. Like whatever, like the whole Activision thing is terrible, and the Blizzard thing is terrible, and all that stuff. But if there's a game that comes out that you really like or you really are interested in, remember that the people who are responsible aren't the only people involved in making that game. There's artists, there's developers, there's, you know, sound people, there's actors, there's a bunch of storyboards, whatever. There's a bunch of different people that go into making any one game, and they're not all guilty. So, you know,
a lot of them are the victims.
A lot of them are the victims. So it's almost like guilty by association, or you're punishing by the. And I don't feel that way. And I remember was it 2 years ago now? I think it was when there was a big thing with Ubisoft. You know, they put out the big apology and all that. And Mortal Phoenix Rising was coming out, and I was talking with a friend. He's like, "Oh, you know what? Screw Ubisoft, blah blah blah." And I'm like, "Well, I'm going to be playing. I don't play Ubisoft games a lot at all, like rarely, but I'm like, I'm really looking forward to Immortal." And I can't believe you're gonna buy that game. I said, yeah, because I'm looking forward to it, and it's the people who are responsible aren't the developers of the game, and I'm not gonna punish them, and I'm not gonna punish myself because of some jackhole. Like, you know, if I'm gonna enjoy something, I'm gonna enjoy something. And I learned to disconnect myself from those things to enjoy a medium or a product, because if you worried about every little thing, you would go crazy.
You
Humans
wouldn't buy any games.
You wouldn't buy anything. You wouldn't buy any games. You wouldn't watch any movies or watch any TV or anything, because humans inherently are terrible people. We just are. And if you try and dig through, oh, that actor stole a candy bar when they were 5, so therefore let's boycott every show they've ever been on. And you know what? That's cancel culture, right? You know, people do terrible things, and that does not justify those terrible activities or actions. But if people change and are willing to change and can prove that they change, they shouldn't still be attacked. They should instead be congratulated that they were actually able to change, because we all make stupid mistakes as people growing up. You know, it's like, oh, when you were 20, you did something stupid, and now you're 50, so we're going to hold you accountable. But they've changed in 30 years. A lot happens in 30 years.
Look at Downey Jr.
Look at Downey Jr. Exactly. Give people a second chance. I believe everybody deserves second chances. And like, I'm not a big Harry Potter fan, but if I was, she's not touching that game. So whatever. Why should you punish all these developers and artists and all those people working on the game because of the actions of one person? Because she created the world initially? Fine, but she's disconnected. That's like if suddenly George Lucas came out and something happened and, oh, George Lucas boycott Star Wars. He's not touching new Star Wars. So if you like new Star Wars, great. If you don't, that's a different story. But that's to say, oh, well, now the original trilogy is tarnished and I can never watch it, and Luke Skywalker's an asshole, and let's all go egg Mark Hamill's house because he made a movie with George Lucas. What? No, stop. Whoa, cut the brakes. People are just so... they're offended by everything. And again, the actions of these companies that are doing these terrible things are not justified, and they absolutely should be punished, reprimanded, and taken care of. And they should be fired. I can't believe they even have jobs.
And I'm offended by how easily offended people are.
Exactly. If you can't disconnect, that's your problem. But if other people can disconnect, don't hold them accountable for that. Let them enjoy what they enjoy. Don't piss in their Cheerios and move on.
Well, the way I try to look at it is there's going to be my opinion, and there's going to be your opinion, and there's going to be basically what it comes down to is, if I have my opinion and I share it, I'm letting you know where I stand, essentially. It doesn't necessarily mean I need you to change my mind unless I ask for it. And because there'll be times for me personally, I'll go out and say, you know, I'm on the fence about this, or, you know, this, I'm kind of leaning this way, but tell me,
and
you know, your
that
thoughts.
Is meaningful debate.
That's the problem I think that I see on the internet, is like somebody will post something, say Twitter. We know Twitter is a cesspool for a lot of this. So
all social media.
Well, but you go there and I say post ice, I would take the movie example, right? I'll go and say, hey, I'm looking forward to the Super Mario Brothers movie. I'm good with what I saw and I'm excited. And then somebody comes in and says, why are you excited about this? Chris Pratt ruined it. You know?
Yeah, that's the problem is people confuse their opinions for a fact.
Right. It's like, okay.
So therefore they can't be wrong.
Right.
But
It's
that's
not
not
like
what opinions are.
not like I'm going on there saying, "Hey, I'm kind of on the fence about this movie. I'm not sure about Chris. What do you guys think?" I'm just saying, hey, I think this movie looks great. You don't
Yeah,
have to come in and
his
tell me
two
it's
lines
not
did
great.
not offend me.
Yeah. Well, and that's just it.
And that's my opinion.
If people are willing to have an open, like people are like afraid of having a talk with somebody and still having a difference of opinion. They feel like I have to change your mind so that you agree with me 100% or this conversation was a failure. Right. And that's a wrong mentality. You should take the attitude of, here's how I feel. Here's how you feel. Now I'm going to tell you how I feel. You tell me how you feel. Maybe we can come to a compromise. Maybe we could agree on certain things, or we could just agree to disagree and say we both have different opinions.
Or it's just like, I have this opinion about the movie. You have that. Okay, cool. It's how some people approach it, right? They just come in and say, why do you like it? That, Chris Pratt sucked or whatever. Just come in and say, hey, I like the browser was my favorite part, but I'm not sure about Chris. That part I don't mind, building on what I said, with your own opinion. That's fine. It's just
go on
coming
to social media right now and just make a post and say, I'm enjoying She-Hulk. I'm enjoying the She-Hulk show. And you will get people that say, how could you enjoy that? That's terrible. Blah, blah, blah. Oh my God. Women, blah, blah, blah. Oh my God. Disney sucks and blah, blah, blah. And they will start vehemently attacking you because of it. If you post, I enjoy it, they just come after you. It's like, hold on. I wasn't aware that I had to check with you what I'm allowed to like and not like. You're allowed to not like whatever you want, but don't attack me because I like something, and I'm not going to attack you for liking something I don't like. Like I don't understand this mentality that's going around now in social media where people are just attacking others because
adults don't know how to be adults.
Yeah. It's so stupid. It's like, look, you can like I like different genres of video games and you may like, and that's okay. That's why we have genres to begin with. It's like music,
Right.
I remember I was a kid, teenager, and I remember early days of the internet. It was a big boy bands were going on, and I never liked boy bands. Never liked. And I remember I went on to it was a Backstreet Boys or NSYNC or something, like it was a fan page or whatever, it was a message board, and I was like, they suck, blah 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 blah. And someone's like, why are you taking the time to come here and attack them? You could be using that time, for better things. And I thought about it, and I was a kid, I was whatever, I was like, I'm cool, and I thought about it. And I said, you know what, they're right. Like, let these people enjoy the music they like. I enjoy the music I like. Why should I piss on them for liking what they like? And I was like, instantly, I was like an epiphany. Like, oh, you know what? We should be nicer to each other. And I was like, you know what? You're absolutely right. Please enjoy what you like. It's not for me, but I hope you enjoy it. And I left the board and I never went back. And that was it. And it was, I realized my mistake. But now people just, they don't care. The
history's only documented case of sanity on the internet.
Right. All right. Well, thanks, Mecca, for that question. It's a great question. And before we move on to the voicemail from Christian, just want to shout out to Locklith, who joined in the chat as well. Thanks for stopping by. She is the newest member of the Nintendo Drive over in the Carpool Gaming. So another one, Barry, for you to check out if you want to stop by there.
Absolutely. Yeah. If they'll take me, I'll gladly join.
Then Mecca has one more question.
Don't yuck their muck or something? Is that
no. You were reading the question.
Oh, yes. I'm sorry. Mecca does have one more. So he has a question for Jesse. How do you find the time to play all these Dragon Quest games while still being a dad? Don't games in this series take forever to complete?
Okay. Well, early games aren't all that long. Like you can beat the first game in like 10 hours. But yeah, I'm a dad, but I am no longer a active father to them. Again, 2 of them moved out. One of them works in full time, and if he's not working, he's normally out at a friend's house. So he's at the house very little. So he's more of a roommate than a son. So the only thing I really have to worry about on a day-to-day basis is being a husband. So I definitely have more free time on my hands now than I did 10 or 15 years ago. I wouldn't have been able to play all the Dragon Quest games that I have in the last 3 years, 15 years ago. But so that definitely helps.
Yes, it does.
Mecca-
It comes with
Mecca-
its,
Becca replies with, "Oh right, Jesse's living the life every parent wants: the kids to move out so they have the room back." Pretty much, yes.
that's it. Didn't you know that, Mecca? That's every parent's dream is, eventually one day the kids move out and then we'll miss them. Obviously, there'll be that
Yeah.
turning point where it's like, oh, they're gone. Now we miss them.
And
But
we were empty nesters for a while. All three have moved out, but
Yeah.
the oldest one came back for about 7 months and then moved out again. And my son's moved back in for what's almost a year now.
yeah.
So
But-
yeah, we'll still take them back. It's just we don't really have to parent them anymore.
Like I said, we have a 27-year-old who's already moved out, and she's, she had moved back in one time, and then now she's been out for a while. So I don't expect her to want to move back in. But it's, there's times where I actually miss her, roaming around or, doing the, just being around, so.
It definitely was a transition. It took a while for
Yeah.
us to get used to not having them around.
Right.
But again, it is something you get used to.
Mecha Dragon says, "Don't worry, Tim. You can still be my dad."
Aww.
No, where's my allowance?
It's always about the money, right?
Right.
Just instantly.
Mecha, you're older than my oldest. So
He goes, "I
what the
need
heck?
money for Master Duel and Overwatch 2."
Yep. Get in line. My kids are asking for money for their games too. So
Yeah, I'm still buying Pokemon games to the kids, or
Yeah.
at least the daughters. My son can buy his own.
Oh, there's some favoritism there.
Well, just, the daughters don't make as much money as he makes.
Lachlan says, "I'm not a dad, but I'm a stepmom to a 17-year-old and a 10-year-old."
That's awesome, though.
That works.
We have props to the step parents,
Yep.
They don't get enough love.
Yeah, my oldest is my stepdaughter. So, and so there was it 10 years of, well, it was actually, I met her when she was 6. So 4 years of that, of me learning to be a parent with her. And then when she was 10, that's when we had our second, or my first child, my wife's second, would be our middle daughter. So there was a 10-year gap there. And then Sammy, our youngest, he's 14, so he came 3 years later. So we have a big gap, but then those 17 and 14-year-old are close together. So, but yeah, anyways, even with the one moving out, we do have they're in their teens. I find I have a little bit more time going in, but my mom's moved back in, so I'm helping her out with a lot of stuff too. So so that's taken away a little bit of time there. So, but thus the life. But you find ways to play games, right? Even when you had your kids and stuff like that. We've talked about this before. When you've had kids, we find ways to play. When you're a young dad, you've seen it where young dads are holding their babies and playing games, so
That's where portable gaming comes in handy.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
So great questions, Mecha, as usual. Thanks for always giving us good questions.
As long as your eyes can support it. My eyes really can't support the small screen anymore.
Yes. All right. Now we go on to the voicemail from Christian.
Hey guys, this is Christian. I was just listening to last week's episode, and there was a segment where you guys were talking about different types of Pokemon games and what you'd like to see in the future. I've had an idea for a very long time about a new Pokemon game that every time I talk about it, people think I'm crazy. So let me hear what you guys think. My spin on a Pokemon game would be a Pokemon kart racer game, where the Pokemon are the ones racing the cars. The twist to it is that there's some sort of stone or elixir or magic that turned the Pokemon into humanoid form, still with characteristics and powers of Pokemon, but in humanoid form, to ride the carts. And the carts go through every landscape, and it's like just basically like an F-Zero mixed with Mario Kart mixed with Pokemon mixed together. And I just thought that would be like a really crazy fun game, something Pokemon's never done before. And, you know, I feel like that would be good, but every time I talk about it, people think it's too much, especially when Pokemon turn into humanoid form. But there's so many memes out there with Pokemon looking like a humanoid form, so I don't see why it couldn't happen. Anyways, guys, hope you're having a great day. I'm glad you guys are all safe after the storm. I'm not sure how far away you are from the storm, but I'm glad you guys are good, and I hope you have a good day. See ya.
Wow. That is, we did briefly talk about a cart version of Pokemon, and we talked to like a double dash version of it, right? So
Yeah, where we had one Pokemon riding another Pokemon as a mount.
yes.
And then like halfway through it, they switch.
Yes. So yeah, we
so
did briefly talk about that, but yeah, go ahead, Jesse.
I like his idea, but again, I am kind of creeped out about them changing into a humanoid form. But I think there's enough humanoid-like Pokemon, examples Lopunny, Lucario, Cinderace, that could probably work with just them as they are.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm gonna agree with that. The whole changing to human form is, I think, probably where people are having issues with your idea, because it's a very cool idea and it's out there. It's just, can you market it? And I think that's a hard market, because if people saw Pikachu as a human, I think a lot of people would be like, can I just have Pikachu? So like it's gonna be kind of creepy. But I do think there's enough humanoid Pokemon, and there's also the trainers. I mean, people say, why can't I be Brock or Misty or Team Rocket or whatever,
Yeah,
Ash or Red or Green or Blue, and use them as the racers? I think there's enough well-known trainers at this point that they could do something like that and ride different Pokemon. I guess they could be unlockable characters, maybe to start that way before branching off. I mean, it worked for My Little Pony, so I mean, why not work for Pokemon?
I was going to ask about that because Mecha Dragon in our chat, he's into the pony stuff. And I know that they touched on that briefly. I just don't know how well it did, where the ponies turned humanoid, or they were in another universe. And it
was really good enough to have 3 movies and a short-run TV series.
Okay.
So.
Well, there you go.
They did a comic series too, I believe.
Equestrian Girls, I think that's what they called it. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's been a while since I've watched those.
Oh yeah, and he said it was good. So okay. I guess it just depends on how well they tell that story of how either it's a separate universe or it's like he said, some sort of potion magic, something magical happens. Where
I still think it's a tough sell. I think the Pokemon people will, if they're diehard, they'll buy anything Pokemon, they're gonna buy it. But for the general people, will be like, I'll stick with Mario Kart, or I'll stick with the regular Pokemon. I just think it's a tough hurdle. And unless it's gone extremely well.
As we said last week, Pokemon Conquest is a hard sell.
Yeah, well, that was a great game. There's Pokemon Dash. You got a racing game, right?
Yes. Great ideas. Keep them coming too. We love hearing your ideas out there. And you can always leave a voicemail like Christian did by calling our voicemail number 929-25-NDADS. That's 929-256-3237. So don't forget, we do have that to where not just Christian has to leave a message, or even Mecha Dragon. He did that last week, but anybody can do that. So even Marty used it, I think, right?
Yep, he did.
So he used it to call in.
He didn't say who he was, but we could tell by his voice who he was.
Yeah.
But because when you leave a voicemail, I get an email that has a rough transcription, and so I'm like, he didn't say who he was. So hopefully we know who he is. And it's Marty. We know who he is.
Yes. So please tell us who you are. At least we may not know your voice. All right. With that, that's the show, gentlemen. Barry, thanks again for sticking with us and being on our show and sharing all of that insight into premium edition games and everything that goes on in the background there.
Thank you so much for having me.
All right. With that, we'll close out the show. And thanks to all of our subscribers on YouTube. We have broke the $6,500 mark of subscribers. So we're at 6,525 subscribers. It just keeps going and we love it. Thank you so much for subscribing. On the Twitch side, we have 1,384 followers and 19 Twitch subscribers. Thank you so much for subscribing and for following. And don't forget, you can use your Amazon Prime to use your free Twitch Prime subscription that you get once a month, and we'd be happy to use it. Give it to us, and you can join us in all our Discord stuff and our activities there. Don't forget also about our Manscaped code for 20% off and free shipping with NINDADS. You can also use that same code at goodr.com. That's GOODR.com for a percentage off of glasses that you get there. Check out our merch store via nintendodads.org/merch, where you can also get our latest design for celebrating 400 episodes, which we'll also be doing at Extra Life. So go there and get that new shirt, or the clock like Jesse has, or a button like I have, where we're celebrating, of course, 400 episodes and going to Extra Life and being together for the first time live. All right.
Woo!
NintendoDads.org. Go there to see all the YouTube videos, tweets, podcast episodes, all our social media stuff. And again, our merch. Go there and check that all out. You can go any social media and search for Nintendo Dads and follow us there. You can email us at nintendodads@gmail.com. And again, you can send us a voicemail via 929-256-3237. Big thanks to OC Remix for the music throughout the show. And before I close out, for some reason I always skip over this. Huge thanks to our Patreon producers, Dave Ernsberger, Solo Something, Alexander Ocampo, RJ Kern, and Chad Benoist. Thanks to those guys for always being our Patreon producers, and thanks to everybody who's a Patreon subscriber again. That's it. Thanks to Barry for stopping by. And thanks to Jesse for stopping by. No. For me,
it was super easy,
Jesse,
barely an inconvenience.
For Barry, for our missing Justin, and again, our sincerest condolences and prayers to Marty and his family. Thanks for coming to watch. And I just can't finish this out. Thanks. Bye-bye. Good night.
Good night.
Thank you for listening to Nintendo Dads.
You gotta get your together. You know what I'm saying?
But I need to protect the humans.